Yeah, it's pretty good. Kind of into this music. Safe says, my interest should be like those late night blues and R&B DJs. And the truth is that I don't know what exactly it is that you want me to do, but I'm down, you know? This music, it's like, it really puts you into a mood, you know? I'm thinking it's putting me into a mood for programming. I hope that's what it's gonna do for you too, you know? Guys, welcome back to Large Data Bank. It's been a little bit. Last week, I was off, right? I was skiing. It was super good. Oh my God, I forgot that I have this chat thing superimposed on my face now. This is sick. I'm gonna put it over here though. But anyway, yeah, I was skiing last week. It was super great. I went upstate. I'm in New York, right? Went to the Catskills, we're talking Hunter Mountain. We're talking East Coast skiing, which is good, you know? It's not to knock the East Coasters. I'm from East Coast. I learned to ski in the Poconos on a tiny little mountain called Alpine Mountain. Super tiny, has like one lift. So, you know, not to knock the East Coast skiing, but anyway, Hunter Mountain was actually super good last weekend. There was a lot of snow. There was a lot of snow. I mean, wow. Like, I feel like I was talking every Friday for the past like 1 month about how much it's snowing in New York. It turns out that if it snows in New York, it's gonna make a lot of good skiing upstate in the Catskills, you know what I mean? Hunter Mountain. So basically, you know, took some opportunity, took some advantage. You know, I got this hat in the mail. That was pretty cool too. Yeah, you know, like, I don't know. I wanna go skiing out west. I missed that. Obviously, we all missed that. Quarantine, pandemic, whatever. Makes it a little tough, makes it a little hard, but we make do, right? We drive up, we do our thing, we leave. That's kind of the idea there. But I don't know what else is happening. I think I did an interview today. It was pretty fun. Yes, we were starting for work. Kind of started this series where we interview some homies that use CockroachDB in their hackathon. That's what happened this time around. We did a little bit of a hackathon post interview, which was pretty sweet. And I'm thinking that we should continue that, right? Like, you know, for the DevRels, right? Make sure that people know, here are all these great use cases that people are using for CockroachDB. I think there's a lot of them out there, right? And it's just like, how can we get the word out? You know what I mean? So that's kind of what the idea is with that. It's not on this, it's on the kind of the corporate account, right, guys? Like the twitch.tv/CockroachDB, that's the corporate account, and that's where we're doing that kind of stuff. But it's pretty good. I'm pretty pumped about it. Live streaming, it's a thing. It's fun to spread that fun to everybody, right? We should all be live streaming. Anyway, so what's the deal? Expecting talks with Netflix and Cloudflare. Yeah, exactly. Get all those the big boys and girls up on the stream. What's up, Jake, the programmer? Lisa, Hydron Compy. Welcome everybody in. Say hello in the chat. You know, I'll read your name out. Isn't that fun? We can chat. We can talk about our days. Kadobs votes for SpaceX. Oscarellian, what is up? Yes, like, yeah, right. I can have Elon on, right? Dear Elon, please come on. Please come on to the Twitch. Do you think that if you tried to get Elon, look, I'm not an Elon Musk fanboy. Just I wanted to get that out of the way. I'm not a fanboy. You know, he does his thing. It's cool, whatever. But I'm not a fanboy. But anyway, like, do you think what kind of like lists? You know, like AC/DC is famous for their lists, right? They're like, was it AC/DC? What's that band that was like, okay, if you're gonna have me on, you have to have these M&Ms, right? They've got to be only the brown M&Ms. And it was like buried at the bottom of this like 30-page long like terms and conditions or something like that. And I think the point of that is actually to make sure that they, you know, they read the safety stuff, right? Like the stage has got to be supporting this number of kilograms, and like the lights have to be a certain way so they don't kill the audience or something like that. But I wonder what Elon's got. Like, I don't know. I guess I won't speculate. Satellite formations being launched through Orion. That's pretty cool. Built the split Keeb. C Films, what's up? 26 variable. How is it going? Dot and Watt. Hello. Let's see Jake's keyboard build. Oh wow, look at that. That looks pretty nice. Pretty nice. The Elite C, right? That's pretty sweet. That was Van Halen? Okay. Okay, well, you learned something new. But I'm sure Elon's got one of those, right? Entire interview must be powered by Tesla solar banks. Exactly. Yes. No diesel fuel for this interview. But yeah, so I don't know. I think what we're gonna do today, you guys, I have 2 agenda items for today. 2 main agenda items. One of the agenda items is gonna be, we're gonna watch a video that I thought was super funny. Because I just want to share it, you know, like somebody shared this with me, and I thought that it would be really fun to share with you guys, just since we talk so much tech on the channel. Watch a funny video. So that's the fun agenda. Okay, so then the other agenda is that we're going to work on this issue about query latencies that get reported by the CLI. My colleague Marcus found this problem. I've sort of known that it existed for a while. It's pretty irritating. It's sort of like it's kind of weird, man. It's like if you put into the CLI a query that has new lines in it, there's a bug that causes the new lines. Each new line makes you print a prompt. And inside of the prompt, each time that you render the prompt, sometimes you have to like do a round trip to the server to get like the host name or like the application or something. So there's this pathological thing that can happen where if you have like a query with a lot of new lines in it, you run it, you do like all these round trips back and forth for no reason. It's like super stupid. So I was thinking we could fix that on the stream. I think that's a nice bite-sized project that we can knock out without having it hang over for too long into the week. And yeah, so that's kind of the plan here. I sent you Elite Cs even though you ordered Pro Micros. To be honest, I don't know the difference. Just thinking about Elite C kind of reminded me of this funny video that I wanna share with you guys. Because the naming of these products are so funny. Yeah, actually, why don't we just go ahead and let's hit that up, right? All right, so check this out, you guys. This is called. Where is this thing? Do you guys know this channel? It's so funny. Oh, here we go. Okay, you guys ready for this? I'm gonna pause the music. We're gonna open up this microservices video. Okay, wait. Hopefully this will be familiar for everybody who's been working in a corporate audience.
All right, I have priorities. My team has deadlines. We have other rules in.
I'm still not understanding this. Why is it so hard to display the birthday date on the settings page? Why can't we get this done this quarter?
Look, I'm sorry, we've been over this. It's the design of our back end. First, we have to call the bingo service. See, bingo knows everyone's name-o, so we get the user's ID out of there. And from bingo, we can call Papaya.
Okay. Look, I've been at a company where we name services funny things. We don't do this at Cockroach Labs, but like my last company, we had a service. I think I named it. We called it Grover. I don't know why. It didn't make any sense. Nobody can infer what the thing that Grover does. I knew, but anyway, bingo knows everyone's name. Oh, dude, such a good reason to name a service.
Again, first we have to call the bingo service. See, bingo knows everyone's name-o, so we get the user's ID out of there. Then from bingo, we can call Papaya and MBS to get that user ID and turn it into a user session token. We can validate those with Omnop, and then, once we have that, we can finally pull the user's info down from Raccoon.
Yeah, but couldn't the Raccoon team basically just...
No, Raccoon isn't guaranteed to have that info. Before we do this, we have to go to Wingman, do a query to see if the user's willing to take it to the next level, or if they're just playing the field. Now, Wingman is cool, but he doesn't store any user info himself. He has to reach out to other user info provider services.
User info provider services? It's so real. It's like, it sounds funny, but then you always end up with shit like this in your microservices.
Like RGS, Barbie Doll, Ringo 2, BLS. But how does it know what all the user provider services are? Well, for that, it has to go to Galactus, all-knowing user service provider aggregator. And while Galactus has omniscient knowledge of all current user info providers, it doesn't have future sight or knowledge of past user info providers, so it expects a time range. To get all the current user info providers, we need to pass a time range with the current time and a time representing the end of the universe, which we get from EKS, our entropy chaos service. EKS is being deprecated at the end of the month for Omegastar, but Omegastar still doesn't support ISO timestamps like they said they would a month ago, so until Omegastar gets their fucking shit together, we're blocked. We can't get signed up for our use case, we can't use EKS, there's nothing we can do. So Galactus won't be able to find our new birthday boy provider, which means Wingman won't know how to talk to anybody, which means I won't be able to find true love and I'll die alone.
I think, okay, this sketch is so good. I think it kind of goes off the rails at this point. But I wanted to go back and just highlight one thing here.
Provider services, like RGS. How does it know what all the user provider services are? Well, for that, it has to go to Galactus, all-knowing user service provider aggregator. And while Galactus has omniscient knowledge of all current user info providers, it doesn't have future sight or knowledge of past user info providers, so it expects a time range.
A time range, okay? So Galactus is pretty sweet, but all of these services that you build in your microservice architecture, they always expect time ranges. So this, it's just so accurate. I don't know, this kills me. Whoever made this sketch, they really did a good job. And basically I'm a big fan. Maybe it sounds like some of you guys have seen this before, but I think that it just is like, I don't know. It's like my spirit animal, this guy, especially
Get all the current user info.
Anyway, is this how AWS names their services? Yeah, I think it probably is something like that. Well, we'll turn the music back on. But thank you for letting me, you know, indulging me watching a funny video together, you guys. Just puts me in a space, you know, puts me in a headspace of not missing microservices, I guess. Maybe that's kind of how it is. Video's got a high energy. Is that Carl on my hat? Yeah, this is a Carl hat. I'm kind of I'm sort of accumulating Carl swag at this point, but I think it's pretty sweet. Thought I'd wear it, show it off. Anyway, you guys, that was fun. But let's get to work, shall we? Let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. So let me see if I can demonstrate what I'm even talking about to you guys. It's gonna be really good. This is gonna be fun, and I think that we can actually make something happen together today. So I'm gonna start up a Cockroach DB server. Cockroach start insecure. Oh yeah, the old start single node. Can't forget about that. Carl swag, wait, is that a thing? How I do it? It's kind of like a secret swag. It's you gotta be in the know to get one of these limited edition Carl hats. You gotta be in the know a little bit. It's a little, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna do Cockroach SQL insecure. And let me actually show you, okay, so here's what I'm gonna do to show off this problem. I'm gonna say vmodule equals exec log equals 2. And we also have to do the old log to standard error. Okay, so now this is sort of telling the server to like log a bunch of crap to standard out, right? I feel like this is a little loud, the music. Turn it down a little bit. And ultimately what this is gonna do is that when we say select one, we should theoretically see logs for each statement, which I don't actually see right now. Kind of wondering if something changed here. I feel like it's been a little... Did we get rid of this? How do I get the SQL logs now? Sometimes things change, you know? Sometimes you're used to something and then they start doing a different thing. Let's see here. Exec log. Used to be that you could ask this thing to log in a verbose mode and then it would print out all the queries, right? I'm wondering what happened to that.
Listen, man.
Well, what's the deal, huh? Who knows what the deal is here? Does anybody know what the deal is? Maybe it's like I have to... It's kind of weird, right? Because look, it's printing out some other stuff. It says exec mode equals exec, num rows equals 1, SQL state, nothing, error text, nothing, age, num retries, and then there's no SQL log. You don't know what the deal is? Dang it. I was hoping that you would know. Log execute enabled. Is it maybe that I just have to like turn on some special settings or something? It was really convenient when you could do it just via the vmodules. Oh, what's up, Lavasov? I think my project's a little out of date. Let me fix that up. So I'm gonna say commands, edit, project, fixing a bug in the Cockroach DB CLI. related to latency reporting. Did that work? Yay. There's this great book called The Art of the Deal. I don't know about that one. I don't know about that one. Sensitive access is a logger that logs to the sensitive access channel. Channel user reports SQL data access. Oh, you know what I can actually probably do? Okay, this is kind of a little bit of a cheating way out, but can't I also get it from the con executor logging? Isn't that a thing? Or did we change that as well? I think, you know what I think this is, you guys? I think what happened is that we, oh yeah, okay, we still have it here. But I think we changed some of this stuff because, you know, as you become more of a serious database that is used in serious applications, you need to make sure that you are seriously considering data privacy issues. And this means kind of like making sure that you're not gonna log any PII kind of thing or workload specific information right to your main logs. And so I think we did a little bit of work to like hide some of that stuff, redact some of that stuff. I'm kind of thinking that I probably missed some details at some point about like where these SQL exec logs actually go. Maybe like we refactored that and it sort of went away. But that's okay. Anyway, undefined behavior, hello. We are doing pretty good. We are doing pretty good. I hope you're doing good as well. So I wanted to call your attention to something. So when I hit enter here on the like little left window, you can see that like it logs a bunch of crap to the logs over here on the right. And the reason for that is that each time I press enter, we emit some statements. Why don't we go through and look at each of them. So one of them that we emit is show transaction status. And you're like, why do you do that? And the reason is that if I say begin, then my prompt is going to tell me that, look, I'm inside of a transaction. So it's actually sort of keeping track of the transaction status client side by asking over and over, hey, Mr. Server, can you please give me the transaction status? So that's what that's for. And then down below, we're also asking for show database. And the reason for that is something similar. We've got to figure out, you know, what the current database is. If I say something like use, I guess, create database foo. If I could not misspell database, that'd be cool. Use foo. Now that I'm inside of foo, you know, I've got this other prompt here. And, you know, at the moment, it's sort of like, I think we were lazy and we're like, well, you know, we don't really want to keep track of this client side. It seems sort of difficult. So we're going to just ask the server over and over again, like, what's the status of my connection? Stuff like that. And that's kind of why we're, you know, continuing to send these statements back and forth. But okay, so it's kind of fine, right? Like you'd think like whatever, at the end of every statement, we just like, you know, send these two things back to the server again. The thing is that there's a bug, and the bug is really weird, but I think what it is that if I were to say select and then put a bunch of new lines here, you see how it's still asking for the prompt on the right there? I don't know if you can tell because it's printing out a bunch of stuff, but each time I press enter, it's asking for the prompt again, like prompt, 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 even though it doesn't need it. And then if I say 1, I think what it's going to do at the very end here is something really hilarious. I think it's going to resend those queries once per new line that I entered, I think, right? It actually didn't, which is a little bit surprising. Oh, you know what it maybe is though? Okay, let's check this out. Let's say I open another window and I go and I make some statement that has a bunch of new lines in it, like select one like this, which is common, right? You go to Stack Overflow, you copy and paste something, you know, you paste something from your app or whatever. So you're gonna just copy and paste all these new lines. And this is, in this case, it's sort of trivial, but whatever. Let's copy and paste this big select one, clear my window over here. If I paste it in here, you see like the prompt doesn't refresh and it doesn't send anything back to the server. But when I press enter here, I think what it's gonna do is send like all of them. Yeah, so you see how it like spammed out this huge blast of prompt refreshing thingies, which is kind of bad. Like it doesn't really matter because like right now I'm on a local machine and the latency between, you know, the client and the server, since they're both on my same computer, is super, super low. Yo, Programming with Prin, welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for the follow. Everybody, if you don't know Programming with Prin, he's my buddy, up and coming Twitch streamer himself. Give him a follow. I think I can give him a little SO Programming with Prin, and it'll give a link to your channel, sort of. It looks a little broken. Anyway, give this guy a follow. He's a man. Absolutely the man. So, right, so it's kind of messed up though. Like if I paste this thing, it's gonna send a billion round trips. And we've gotta fix that. That's the idea. You think the script formatting, yeah, it includes a dot, I know. I need to fix that. I keep forgetting to fix that. It's irritating. But you guys can figure that out, right? Just click the link and then take the dot off and then, you know, you got that. You got that. I believe in all of you. Do you think the script formatting includes explicit new line, or does the script strip them out? I think ultimately it's just sort of like, yeah. If you just copy and paste a thing with a bunch of new lines, there's no script really. It's just like, well, BAP. You paste it in, you send it, and then it sends like 50 million round trips. So we're gonna fix that, guys. It's gonna be good, and I think it's actually gonna improve people's lives. Oh yeah, what I wanted to say was that if you're in this environment, like you would be in Cockroach free tier, right? So we last time we played around, we added a Cockroach free tier cluster, which was super fun. And you know what I should do? I should actually demo this on Cockroach free tier, because then you guys can see the depth of the problem. I think that would be good. So wait, let me see if I can get to my free tier cluster. Do I still have that in my history? Maybe be over here. That's not right. I think this thing. And then, did I know what my password was? Do I know what my password was? I think that the answer is, oh yeah. Okay, I'm gonna hide, okay. Just so I don't leak my password, I'll just do this over here. Okay, cool. Yeah, the password is Hunter2, absolutely right. So now I've got this free tier cluster. As you can see, like, I don't know if you can tell, but the latency is like a little bit worse, right? Because I'm talking back and forth to somewhere that's not my computer. So of course there's gonna be a little bit of lag in between the enter and the next prompt printing. So if I were to say something like select, oh yeah, I've got to paste it, right? So if I go back over here to Vim and I paste my weird select one, it's got up all these new lines and I'm gonna hit enter. I think there's gonna be like a weird lag before it comes back. You see, and that's like so bad, right? Because it says, okay, it says 41 milliseconds, but really you could see perceptually that that was like a long time. I'll do it again. It was like at least a second. And this was confusing, folks, and I think it's reasonable to be confused here. I mean, this is just a bug, right? Like you hit enter and then it goes all these round trips behind the scene. You don't see it in the time and everyone's just confused. So kind of want to fix this up. Obviously, it's just because, yeah, the network link between a machine here, even if it's just like 25 milliseconds, if you multiply that by 10, or I guess it would be 20 or something, it gets really slow. Anyway, keycaps, slinks, what's up? Or syncs. XDA profile. I think these are not XDA, but I forget what they're called. I think they're DSA profile, right? DSA is funny because it also stands for the political party, right? So kind of funny to say that in that other context. So let's go ahead and dive in and try to figure out what's going on here. SQL.go. We've got this CLI package. It's hilariously named SQL.go as if it's kind of implementing all of SQL in a single file or something, but it's just, we call it that because of Cockroach SQL. That's sort of the name of our shell. The key switches here, I actually have a command for this. Check this out. So I think I need to update that too. Switch keyboards, blah, 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 blah. You know. Anyway, they're Kyle Sage switches. Kyle Sage switches. So this is like this big state machine that does the SQL CLI, this CLI state thing. And I basically think that what we need to do here is figure out where this prompt gets printed and why it gets printed out on every new line. And then we should be able to be in a happier place, right? See if we can do that. Run interactive. So this is kind of what we're doing, right? Do run shell. Sounds like a good thing. I see. So I guess what this is a big loop, right? You can kind of see it. You got your for loop here. And the for loop is like, while true, check what my state is, and then do some stuff. And I guess we can kind of go through this. There's CLI read line. Do read line reads a line of input and checks the input status. If input was successful, it populates last input line. Okay, so this seems pretty relevant. Don't you like NeoVim or Vim? I use Vim just because that's what I'm used to, but for like programming on a big project, I'll usually use an IDE. In this case, I'm using Goland because we're using Go. Why doesn't it do the round trip when you paste? I don't know, man. It's extremely confusing, right? Like, if I paste this, if I paste that like that, it's going to just sit here until I hit enter. Then it's going to do all the round trips. Whereas if I say select and then enter and then enter and then enter, you see how it's printing this like intermediate prompt signal, and that's doing the round trip there. So either way, we don't need to do the round trip in both of these cases. Yeah, perhaps it's like the carriage return business. I don't know. So why don't we like take a look at this do read line thing? It says some buffer. If it's nil, we get a new line. So presumably this is edit line. Oh, this is some vendored thing. Okay, so this is from go libedit. So I guess this is, hopefully we won't have to change that too much, but presumably this is like asking the edit line implementation for a new line of code, or of text rather. We look for a new line. So this is interesting, right? So if we have a line and the last character is a new line, notice that there is no carriage return. I don't remember exactly what the deal is with those or how they work, but perhaps we'll have to find out. We strip the new line. Otherwise, we just print it. There was no new line at the end of the input. For example, Control C was entered, force one, and then we print nothing to, we print an empty line to standard out. Or like whatever this like go libedit mediated standard out thing is. Otherwise, if c.buff is not equal to nil. So I don't know what c.buff is yet. Buff is used to read lines if is interactive is. Okay, so we don't care about this at all. It's really just this first case. So I guess what's kind of interesting here is that you can sort of see why potentially this, well, no, I don't know yet. Let's go down below. We take our L, take the L, you guys. We check to see if error is not equal to nil, which I think is true in this case, right? We check to see if we have multiple lines of input. Okay, so this is interesting, right? If so, so if we do have multiple lines of input, then we just keep one and we sort of like queue this up for later. So that's kind of suspicious, right? It's kind of suspicious. Yo, Mr. Wormhole. Hello. Welcome to the stream. We just take one. GitHub was down for 20 minutes. GitHub was down for 20 minutes. It's back. GitHub being down really ruins a lot of lives, right? It's like, oh my gosh. Interrupted, we ignore. EOF, we ignore. Default, we ignore. All right, so the last input line is set to L. Return next state, and this is going to be important, right? Ooh, next state is fed into the do read line, and the state is CLI decide path. Determine what to do with the newly input line. Okay, so inside of do decide path, what do? We say if there were partial lines, process first line. Otherwise, we do handle CLI command. So when does partial lines get set? Partial lines is the array of lines accumulated so far in a multi-line entry. Told us in GitHub Twitch channel, they said no, it's not down. GitHub has a Twitch, I should follow them. What do they do on their channel? So partial lines doesn't seem like we actually set this in this case, right? It's like, partial lines is set somewhere else, so I guess we'll get to that. Okay, so do decide path. This is 0 process first line. So we're gonna jump to process first line. Process the first line of a multi-line entry. They fix merge conflicts and rebase issues without CLI. Then they do ads on GitHub CLI. That's kind of Kappa. Here's what I'll say for anybody who's watching who's like newer to programming, trying to figure out a way to get into programming. I feel like this kind of application, a CLI application, it's like the #1 way to like come up with a project or like find something to contribute to. So yeah, I think this is good stuff for people to like get into. You know, kind of fun. You can like customize the prompt or like make it look different, do different stuff, make something interactive. That's my feedback. Find projects like this one. Peter A. Maldes, this is Golang, yes. Isn't this stream basically an ad for Cockroach? I would say absolutely not, Oscar-Ralan, and I'm offended that you would say so. This is just me doing my thing. I happen to be working on Cockroach, but like, am I telling you like you have to use Cockroach for every project? Certainly not. I would never say such a thing. I go there to spam git Kraken CLI. Git Kraken CLI. I don't know what that is, but it sounds sweet. Do process first line. So, all right. Special case. First line of multi-line statement. Ignore empty lines and rest. So if we had a last input line, I think we did set this one. This is the one that we set to just the first line of the multi-line statement, right? This stream is sponsored by Big Cockroach. I was skiing last weekend and I know, okay, so what do you guys think about ski poles, right? Ski poles, they're important kind of if you're like good, but if you're not, I don't know, they're like kind of pointless, right? And my friend was sort of like, I think that you only think that they're good because of Big Pole. And I think he's kind of right, you know, like Big Pole kind of got into our head, said that we need ski poles. I don't know, man. Big Cockroach says, Jordan, you can do your stream on Fridays. That's what they say to me. That's what they say to me. You look derpy without ski poles? Just say that to all the snowboarders. You like CLI's tree visualization for branches? So last input line, when did we set it? We set it to, we just set it to the line, unless there's this forward lines business, which we still haven't quite figured out, but we'll get there. We will get there. Oh no, we do set it. So we set it right in the beginning. Okay, so basically what we're gonna be at over here is that we're going to be, our last input line is going to be the first line of our multi-line string. And it's just gonna skip all these cases, I think, because they're not these cases. And we're gonna return next state, which will be CLI handle CLI command. So we jump into do handle CLI command. If the len is 0 or the last, if the last input line is equal to 0 length, it's not, so we have something in there, or the 0th character is not equal to backslash. Okay, so backslash is for some special stuff. We don't care. We return next state. So we just leave this thing completely and we go to CLI prepare statement line. Moguls without poles. Okay, fine. You're right. So for moguls, yeah, you need the poles. But like, are you skiing moguls every time? Depends on if you're skiing on the East Coast. This is a Cockroach repo. Yes, this is definitely, this whole thing lives inside of the Cockroach repo. I don't know. I mean, look, I'm doing this. What do you guys want me to say? This is often I stream where I work on CockroachDB open source. But you guys could go to GitHub. You could be working on CockroachDB too. There's no reason for me to be the only one. In fact, we have a whole way to get some good first issues there. Have I ever seen VLang? Yeah, VLang is sort of suspicious. I'm not going to talk about VLang. But if you go over here to Cockroach repo and you hit up the old good first issue label, I think I even have a command for this, but you know, V for vaporware, you guys can check this out. You guys can see about the stuff that I'm working on. This is the particular issue that I'm working on today, by the way, is this one. In case you're curious. Do Cockroach stuff. Line of questioning is don't have the context. What you're working on, curious about good ways to communicate context. Yeah, that is definitely tough. I think I sort of have this like exclamation point project thing that I try to use to give a little bit of context, but it's definitely difficult. it's definitely a little bit difficult to communicate that context. I think one thing that I've noticed that people do, they'll put like a text edit, like over here on the right side, that's like, here's my to-do list, like here's my projects, here's what I'm up to and stuff like that. I haven't really tried that. I think I could, but I haven't really done it yet. I think it's probably a good idea. One thing that I really respected about, I don't know if you guys ever followed Adam Learns on Twitch, who was doing stuff for a while. Adam Learns had this really awesome setup where he put a whole scope of work about what he was doing. He had this whole open source repo about like his to-do status, his readmes, his progress, his this, his plans, blah, blah, blah. And it was all like, he was working on that on the stream. He had it displayed on the stream. And I felt like that was a really good way to engage viewers and make them understand what you're doing. And I think that if I had more pre-stream prep time, I think maybe I would do something like that, but I just haven't like gotten into my brain pan yet to make that happen. But I really like the approach. I like the approach quite a bit. I think he got a job, so he hasn't been streaming as much. You like linking to the issue? Yeah, I think that makes sense. Just brainstorming. Yeah, no, I appreciate all the brainstorms. At repo command, that checkouts the repo on your computer and immediately repro the specific issue. Yeah, that'd be so funny. Adam's consistency was top notch for organizing stuff. Yeah, consistency is key, right, guys? Like I didn't stream last week, and already it's like been 2 weeks since I streamed. It's kind of crazy. That's the once per week cycle is kind of a slow cycle. All right. So do prepare statement line. We say c dot partial lines append, partial lines last input line. So do we have partial lines yet at this point, or are we still like pre-partial lines? What are we doing? What are we doing? I think that we don't yet have partial lines. I think we have like this like pre-state that we're still like this like forward lines business, right? I don't quite understand what forward means. Forward lines is the array of look ahead lines. I see. This gets populated when there's more than one line of input in the data read by read line, which can happen while copy pasting. Yes, indeed it can. Indeed it can. Okay, so I think then, wait, we should be in do prepare statement line. So we're accumulating our partial lines, right? We join the statements back together with new lines in case there is a significant new line inside a string literal. That sounds super painful to think about, so I'm just gonna skip thinking about it. Last token okay equals parser.last like, oh my gosh, so we're actually using the parser client side, you guys. Well, at least we're using it to do a lexical token scanning thing. And then we check to see if it's the end of the statement. I kind of get it. So we're actually smarter than I thought we were. We're actually, by the way, to get the context, you guys, just so that we're all on the same page here, what we're talking about right now is the little program that gets run when you run Cockroach SQL. Quickly hide my password here again, which is of course, Hunter2 or whatever. But just so we're on the same page, right? So when I run Cockroach SQL like this is a different program than the program that is like the database program. It's just this shell. But the shell has to have some smarts too, right? It's got to be able to like send the command to the server and like, do commands like this and stuff like that. It's got all this logic inside of it, and that's what we're kind of editing right now. Svopper, thank you so much for the follow. But anyway, it's kind of crazy to me that this program, the little Cockroach SQL CLI program, it's actually using the very same parser code that we use in Cockroach DB proper to take a SQL statement from the wire and parse it and like turn it into stuff that you can actually run. So that's kind of TIL for me. And it looks like what we do to check to see if the statement is over is that we look to see if the last token is equal to a semicolon, which is totally natural, right? It does beg the question, like, what if I said something like this? Select one semicolon select. So it's gonna send this. I guess what it does in that case is it doesn't know that this statement is the end yet. So it just sees a new select and then it has to, yeah. It sends these both to the server at once or something. Note, timings for multiple statements on a single line are not supported. Okay, well, anyway, not so important. So we check to see if we're at the end of the statement. If partial statements length is equal to 0, which at this point is partial statements len is another state element. There's a lot of state in this state machine. It's kind of hard to keep track. It represents the number of entries in partial lines parsed successfully so far. So it's going to be 0 so far, I think. It's going to be 0 so far. Which means that we're going to say, we're just going to leave. And not is okay. So when could that be true? Maybe this returns true if the string has no lexical tokens. Oh, it's different. This is for like just empty state, basically. More white space or comments. Moonlighter keyboard, it seems sweet. I don't know, I've never tried one, but it seems super sweet. So if I'm at EOF, I don't care. If I'm not at end of statement, when is this set to be true? So this is gonna be true in this case, right? Because this is set to true if we have a semicolon at the end of our statement. So in our particular example, right, we're looking at this weird string, a select and then a bunch of new lines, and then a 1 at the end of the semicolon. So we're still up here, and there's no semicolon. So we're gonna jump into this. Yeah, I could probably just use a debugger. I'm just doing the debugger in my head, but this is kind of fun. So if the last token is question mark, nope, it's not. Return const state. So our const state is the second thing here. It's CLI continue line. And CLI continue line, just before reading the second line or after in a multi-line statement. And inside of CLI continue line, look at this, CLI refresh prompt, my friends. Is this the entire problem? So inside of do continue line, what do we say? We say at UF false, use continue prompt true, and then CLI refresh prompt is going to jump us into this do refresh prompts thing. And the trouble is that we do a bunch of work in here and we don't need to. And I think the condition where we don't need to actually be doing this stuff is what? Golang pair programming could be a good way to get people help get context. I want to start with what Jordan's working on, but then sometimes I want to jump around on my own. Wait a minute, wait. Are you telling me but does this just like let somebody control your entire IDE? Because I feel like that's kind of sus, my dude. Okay, so, oh, interesting. You can start a session with one of the following basic scenarios. You can do pair programming, single participant, and full sync or follow each other. Teacher-student scenario where you have many participants who follow me. Wait, that's like so sick, dude. I don't know. Should I just do this on stream or is that kind of scary? Should I do this on stream or is it kind of scary? Do I have this plugin installed? I think I might have installed it already. Is it scary or is it just scary enough, you know? Do I have it installed? I don't have it. I do have it installed. Yeah. I don't know, guys. I don't know. I think it's a little too scary. Because, like, what if they can see inside of my hard drive and stuff like that? I think we'll have to save this for next time until we've, like, practiced and made sure that it's kind of safe. Cool way to do this would be let 2 people use the same tmux session. Yeah. That's very Monka-esque. Very Monka-esque. Maybe we can try that next time. But Paul, that's a great suggestion. I really want to. I really want to play with that. It seems super fun. My no ski pole skiing fix. Okay. So anyway, right. So refresh prompt. I basically think that the problem here is that there is this case inside of prepare statement where we know we're not interactively serving new lines, and that's a different case than when we are interactively serving new lines. And in the case, I mean, honestly, in both cases, we don't need to refresh the prompt because like all the prompt does, even in the case of like interactive multiple new lines, is like it just prints this little arrow, right? And like you shouldn't have to go back and forth to the server to get any information here because we're just printing an arrow. So like, I'm wondering whether this refresh prompt phase is also printing the prompt or not. It kind of seems like it is, right? Configure the editor to use the new prompt. So it's sort of like what we need here is a state that says like, don't bother actually. I mean, honestly, I think we could just skip this entire phase here, right? Whoops. So I kind of think like, so CLI refresh prompt. Do continue line. I think ultimately what it is that do continue line. You sort of need like a kind of like a scary two-step state thing where like inside of this state, you can either do CLI refresh prompt next or not, depending on some state of some other previous decision. You know what I mean? It's kind of like you need a stack of two states. I've done this before in another project, also inside of Cockroach. I have a state machine that's got kind of like a state stack, and it's kind of nasty. I don't know. I'm not gonna lie. I kind of think that it's like there's got to be something computer sciencey here. That's like, how do you make what's like the right way to structure such a thing where it's like, do you guys know what I'm saying? Basically, like when you enter CLI continue line, depending on some prior state, you want to either next go to CLI refresh prompt or you want to skip CLI refresh prompt, depending on some earlier decision. And I'm not exactly sure the best way to structure such a state machine. Probably just means that we need to have two states, like one that's CLI continue line with refresh and one that's CLI continue line without refresh. A monad? That doesn't sound right. Unnest the states. Brohanster coming in with the CS dropping of knowledge. We got a PhD candidate in the house telling me to unnest the states. Does that mean saying, like making a copy here that's like CLI continue without refresh or something? Is that what you're saying? Is it technically correct? Oops, does that not work? IDE. There we go. Okay, we could try that. We could try that. And so, it's just kind of so nasty though, you know, because it's like, this thing is also super gross already. You got a start state, a continue state, a check state, an exec state, right? And it's sort of like, what we actually want is to have this guy control its own behavior, right? It's like, it's kind of like in this case, it's kind of like in this case, if we don't need a diagram, I actually think that it's not as bad as I'm thinking. I think actually I just need to say continue line with, yeah, because look, it's just before reading the second line or after in a multi-line statement. I think that, wait a minute though. Actually, hold on one second. So inside of do refresh prompts, there is actually a case for where we just turn into this like little mini prompt, isn't there, right? Because this whole thing has to be set up by somebody. Who is printing this thing is a question that I need to know the answer to. Continue statement prompt is this. Is using a free tier instance the new Cockroach demo? Yeah, absolutely. Durdur, what's up, by the way? If want db state and prompt. RE prompt db state. Checking to see if we have any special directives. I think ultimately it's like, do we actually need to run the refresh or not is the question. And I think I might be able to figure that out without having to add any new states, potentially, right? Because down here, we actually, Ah! Oh, I see. Switch c.use continue prompt if... Wait, why is this a switch statement? That's super random. Why can't you just go to next state if the line is just... It's because, like, in my example, you know, you might actually have something that looks more like this, like 1 comma, you know what I mean? And then it's like, it's not just new line that you have to care about. I think this is also a kind of similarly pathological case that like is pointlessly slow. But I think I know how to do it, right? It's just all we have to do is actually check this earlier, and then leave earlier. Like, I think we can actually just put this way up at the top and short circuit, right? Like this is set externally, isn't it? Yeah, it is. So all we have to do is say if c.use continue prompt, and I think we also have to the bug is basically like people got really confused when they were pasting this big long SQL string. And if you paste this big long SQL string into the CLI, because of this bug that I'm working on fixing, even if the statement like does nothing, so I hit enter, and then you wait for like a long time, and then it says, okay, let me actually make it compile properly. So if I hit this and wait for a long time, then it's gonna finally say 1, but then look at the time. The execution time says 41 milliseconds, 0 milliseconds execution and 41 milliseconds network. And people were like, huh? This thing definitely took like 2 minutes or something. And the actual reason for it was just like a dumb CLI bug. So basically that's what I'm fixing. It's not like a correctness bug or any kind of other problem. It's just like sort of this reporting thing that's confusing for everybody. Little thing. Hopefully fixable by, yeah. I see. There's some kind of weird detail about like we change the continue prompt depending on what the full prompt looks like, which just seems really kind of dumb. I guess the idea is like if I say set prompt equals this, wait. Set prompt 1 is equal to this. And then I say select. That's kind of silly though, right? Like do we really care? If it's less than 3, then we just set it to this. Otherwise we set it to, I don't get the point of this. And I think that it might be kind of pointless, maybe. Let's just keep this and then like we'll move on with our lives, hopefully. So if we're using a continue prompt, then we say c.continue prompt is equal to this thing. And then we say this, and then we leave. Honestly, I feel like what we could do is say if c.continue prompt is not equal to, I think we have to keep maybe resetting it. So strings are, what does this do? Count len c.full prompt minus 3. Oh, is the issue that we have to align it? Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. But we can just use the last one, right? I think it's gonna be fine. Basically what this is doing is like, look, so when I have, let's reconnect to this thing. Dang it, gotta protect my password again real quick. If I reconnect to this thing real quick, and then I were to say, right, so if I, yeah, you see how it like aligns the arrow with the prompt? That's what that extra code is about. But I think it's fine if we just use the most recently calculated prompt. We don't have to like recalculate it again just to get the continue. I think that seems a little bit pointless. So I think what we'll say, we'll just keep this logic from down here. We'll just grab this whole thing. We'll just calculate it all up front. We can get rid of this. Then we set the left prompt to continue prompt. and we just continue along with our lives. We can get rid of this. We always are going to be refreshing besides that. And then we can get rid of this whole thing. I guess we'll just go like this. And then yeah, I think that's about that. So let's try it out. We're gonna recompile and see if that fixes anything. Undefined CLI continue without line. Right, indeed, I made this pointless new state. Can get rid of that. Oh, you know what I meant to? I really meant to use this THX sound before I started the stream today. Maybe we can do it when we. It's like a. Are we gonna actually have fixed the problem? Kind of sound cue. I want to train us all to be. You know, I want us to all respond to audio cues, as just for fun. Linking always takes forever. All right, so check it out. I think it worked. Could you tell? Could you tell that it worked? Okay, so if I just copy and paste this entire thing, now it's gonna return instantly. Okay, well, we did it. What about this other stuff? When I say select, this still works fine. I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. Take a bow. Ship it, right? Pretty simple diff. I'm glad you're appreciating the sound effects. Yay. This is like a pretty simple patch. Okay, so how are you putting your changes on a feature cluster? Yeah, you just missed the fact that the change is actually just on the CLI. This is just a CLI bug. Yeah. So we're gonna check out a new branch called fix CLI prompt refresh issue.
The data bank's too big. I have to narrow down the search.
Geospock, thank you for the follow. So we're gonna say CLI don't refresh prompt online continuations. Previously, the CLI would recalculate its prompt, including any required network round trips to determine transaction status and current database. On every new line, even if the new line came in the middle of a SQL statement. This was wasteful, of course, but it's also very confusing for users when entering a large multi-line statement via paste. The prompt refreshes defer until enter is pressed for the first time, and there is a lot of unexplained latency during the statement that doesn't reflect the actual SQL being executed. It also doesn't match the reported execution time. leading to mass confusion and sadness. Now we don't bother refreshing the prompt during line continuations. Release note, CLI change. CLI change is like basically like optimize handling of multi-line SQL strings to avoid unwanted extra server round trips. Release justification. This is gonna be one of these guys. Okay. I don't think I have to change any tests. I think we do have CLI tests, but they don't check things like network round trips. And in fact, it would be kind of weird if they did. So I feel like we're probably good to go here. You bought a watch last week. It's super cool. It's a Casio databank. Now you're the coolest, nerdiest kid in town. Those Casio databank, isn't that Casio databank? Those are one of those like old school like calculator watches. Dang. It's pretty sweet, dude. Did you get the rose gold version? Okay, and so I think that we also fixed a bug here, right? So we can mark it as closing this, closes this. Who knows about this code exactly? If anybody. Guessing it's Raphael. And a rule. I guess I'll tag. Went with the beige one. I think that's a practical choice. It is a practical choice. That's okay. All right. What do we do now, friends? That was it was fast. It was fast. I feel like lately I've been picking projects that are really like too hard. I never finished them on stream. This one's like I kind of finished it. Kind of need a new issue. What should we work on? Last time we were working on this PG total relation size thing, which is like, it hit a bad roadblock because of just some like confusion, architectural decisions that haven't really been made yet about how we're structuring some of this free tier stuff. Oh, you know what I wanted to do for you guys last time is draw a picture of how the free tier stuff is organized. And I never got to do that because I didn't have my iPad set up. I guess I could do that now. Although, didn't I sort of draw it in the end just in like kind of a scuffed way? But I can show you a diagram. And maybe, why don't I'll tell you about it a little bit, and that way we can talk about why this is actually a challenging problem. Wait, that's the wrong scene. Where's the right scene? I think this is the right scene. Okay. So basically what we got going on here is the following. Draw, you can see that. How does free tier work, right? So what is free tier again? Free tier is this thing that when I connect over here, I better turn off my stream notifications, huh? Or just any notifications on the iPad. How do I do that? Is it this one? What is free tier again? It's like when I go over here, everybody can do this. You guys all go to cockroachlabs.cloud and you can all sign up for a free Cockroach Labs Cloud instance, free tier. It's free. It's free forever. SQL, it's got some limits. You know, you can do some stuff on it, but you run out of disk space, you know, at a certain point. But we're planning to expand that. Point is, like, it's kind of a neat thing. Like, how do we effectively provide free clusters to anybody who wants them? That's kind of the question of the day. Oh yeah, right. So anyway, I meant to actually show on the desktop, like when I sign into this thing over here, Cockroach SQL URL, I pass this big string, free tier GCP, blah, blah, blah. This is going to be a URL that you get from cockroachlabs.cloud that you get when you open your cluster up. You pass in some certificates, you put in your password, and then you're good to go, right? So all of this stuff is, you know, running on some infrastructure that I don't control. I'm not paying for it. Cockroach Labs is paying for it, but it's cheap for Cockroach Labs. It's kind of the point, right? I did some stuff on the stream last time. Here's Dirter and Road Trail and stuff like that. So anyway, so how does this work exactly? The idea here is that, let's see, we have our clients over here, client. So it's, in this case, I guess it's sort of like, let me move my keyboard out of the way so I can like draw on this thing more easily. We got our client. In this case, it's, you know, it's Cockroach SQL. And, you know, I'm connecting from this machine to some sort of load balancing machine, right? There's got to be some sort of load balancer. In fact, it says right back on my desktop scene, it says that I'm connecting to, you know, free tier GCP US Central 1 Cockroach Labs.cloud. Like, presumably what this is doing is talking to some sort of central load balancer thing. Maybe there's some DNS going on there that round robins. I don't actually know the details of how that works. But you know, you can imagine that there's like, this is the internet boundary between me, you know, our house and the internet. And then there's some load balancer, right? And at a certain point, what I get is a Cockroach SQL instance. So like what this thing actually is a little copy of Cockroach that is just running its SQL parts. So all of the SQL parsing and all of the optimizer and whatnot, they all are living in these little pods. And these pods, what's so cool about them is that they're actually stateless. And that's what sort of powers the magic behind all of this free tier stuff, is that these little pods, they don't actually have to store any data. And what you can do is you can spin them up and you can spin them down very quickly, since they're just living in a Kubernetes pod. They don't have any state. You turn them on, you turn them off, you scale up, you scale down. It's like not so big of a problem. So these things are all, you know, stateless. And anyway, so if they're stateless, though, the question is like, how do you actually, it's a database. So how can you have a stateless database? And the answer is that, you know, we've got another boundary here, and across this boundary, we're actually sending our KV commands that sometimes we talked about on the stream, right? Like, how do you convert SQL into KV? The answer is basically that you make a scheme. You say, you know, if I have a table, it's called a certain thing, right? You've maybe seen these diagrams, like, you know, table users, Jordan, you know, points to, and then some data, like maybe my hair color is brown or something like that, right? And what this is saying is like, maybe I have some table called users, and the primary key is, you know, the username or something. Maybe it would be ID in a realistic scenario, but this is my primary key, the name, primary key. And it's pointing at, meaning like there's a value associated with this key, which is like maybe my hair color column or something like this. And you can imagine like there might be several of these keys, one per entry in the table. You know, whoever else is in the stream, like Oscaralan. And I don't know what their hair color is. I'll assume that it is bright green. Anyway, so right, this is what the KV sort of representation is of SQL. And the point is that, like, since these pods over here, the SQL pods, are all stateless, what we're actually doing is sending these commands, like a command to maybe write one of these things or read it or delete it, to this big network of KV nodes in the back. And these things are all stateless. I mean, stateful, rather. And they're also all talking to each other. So they're doing the, you know, Raft consensus stuff. They're doing all of the, like, sort of database part, like the storage part of the database, the consensus, the transactions, the consistency, the storage, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, they've got their actual disks. And the point is that these guys, they can talk to any of the KV nodes, depending on what they need. And the other question is like, right, how do they avoid seeing other people's data, right? So here in my, you know, in my free tier instance, I can't see anybody's data but mine. I just, you know, I have these 2 tables in it, but like there's, you know, hundreds or thousands or however many free tier customers we have right now, all, you know, using their own tables. And I can't see this stuff. And the reason is that just back in our, I need to get better at these transitions. In our sort of key KV SQL diagram, what we've done is we've added another thing at the front of here called the tenant ID. And maybe my tenant ID is like 300 or something. And then maybe yours is like, you know, 10,000 or something. Or like, we're going to take over the universe and we'll have like, you know, 900 billion like free tier tenants or something like this. These things are all going to be prefixed to your keys, and tenant 10,000, they're just not authenticated to see tenant 300's keys. And yeah, that's kind of how it works. I don't know. It was fun to draw about it. I think, I don't know if I really explained too much more than I did last time, but that's the vague idea. I think it's pretty cool. The reason that it's cheap, right? I guess I should mention that too, is that like, it's sort of like, because of the limits of the things that you can store per tenant, it's like that data just goes into this big scaled out KV cluster that we're kind of running, and it gets amortized ultimately. Like these SQL pods are very cheap to spin up and spin down. Presumably many free tier users will just use it a little bit, throw it away, never use it again. And that cost is like basically zero for us, right? Because it's stored on these KV nodes, but it's just storage at that point. We're not like maintaining it. We're not having to host SQL pods for it. And that's kind of, yeah, how it works a little bit. Disk quota is enforced by Cockroach Lab sending a mail asking you to remove data to get under the limit again. That's interesting. We'll probably, you know, it's a beta, right? I think, did I mention that Cockroach Cloud free tier is a beta? It is, but we're going to be doing better on that for sure. We've also got to do things like CPU limits better, memory limits better. There's a lot of stuff to do, but it's kind of the basic idea here. Siltemester, thank you for tuning in to the stream, by the way. Hello. So now what? We drew some stuff. We did some stuff. Here's my iPad. Ta-da. Maybe what we should do is see if we can grab another problem to work on. Maybe we'll do that.
Everybody knows that relational databases don't scale because they use
Null Bitmap, thank you so much for the 10 months. That's a lot of months. You like this cap? Yeah, I like it. I like it too. It's a new one. I'm into it. Look at it. It's so cute. It's Carl, our mascot. Love that guy. What a great dog. 10 months, man. It's a lot of months. Thank you for your undying support. Oh God, don't want to play that. What I wanted to do is say,
everybody knows that relational databases don't scale.
MD Layer, thank you for the 10 months as well. All of my longtime subscribers are chiming in to say hello. Appreciate you guys. Not too much is up. I think we're just chilling, right? We're doing some issues. We're talking about architecture stuff. We are chatting with Burkan Sazmaz, exporting IDE settings. I haven't done that, and I don't think that I will. Although, I don't know. Is it easy to export these things? Had a meeting, just got done. Yeah, enjoy the Aaron, my friend. Thank you so much for the 10 months. Again, thank you for showing up. I'll talk to you. Yeah, view bot me, baby. Let's get those, jack up those views. Jack up those viewers. I think gotta figure out what to work on next. We just finished that CLI issue. Oh yeah. What I wanted to do is tell you guys why it was a little bit annoying last time to work on the total relation size thing. Basically, the answer is that like we have these APIs that are used to give you information about metadata stuff that we use to power that front-end DB console thing that we talk about sometimes. And the thing is that those servers, like in the code, they kind of live in random places because we didn't always know that we were going to have a separate sort of SQL layer. Like the fact that this architecture now is like SQL over here and like KV over here, we like sort of had this set up in the code, but not like super well. And we definitely never thought that there's going to be like a separate SQL process and a separate KV process, which is sort of what things are going on right now. So just architecturally, it's a little bit awkward trying to figure out like where the implementations of these metadata things should live. Like, should they live on the SQL pods? Well, it's kind of awkward because then they're going to have to hop over to these KV nodes and they need to have the tenant ID encoded in them and stuff like that. Are they going to live on the KV nodes? That's also super awkward because like then you would need to have the DB console like have a connection to these KV nodes, which feels wrong. So basically, like just while implementing this like kind of simple thing, I ran into a little bit of an architectural thing that we haven't quite resolved it. We haven't really quite resolved how we're going to do the best way of like showing that observability stuff, showing that DB console for the free tier like multi-tenant stuff. We just haven't really cracked it yet. I expect we're going to be working on this pretty soon though, since it's quite important. I think that observability stuff is just like, yeah, you really have to have it. Without observability, it's like the product can like kind of work, but it isn't really possible to make people feel like they understand it. And I think if you don't understand the product, it's like, it just doesn't feel as mature, I think. Something like that. I don't know. It's just such a critical component of any software system, I think. Easy to overlook, unless you build it in from the ground up. I think it could be kind of hard to go back later and retrofit things. Anyway, what should we do, guys? I think there was something that I was thinking about doing. You know what we could maybe do is, what about this idea? What about this idea? So, there's this whole situation with PG class stuff that's kind of internal, but also kind of important. Basically, all right, so here's the situation. You are oh, you know what I should really do, you guys? What I should really do is hook up my Goland to this free tier cluster to try to see if it works well. And I think that the answer is that there are some hiccups with it. And maybe what I should do is just like play around with that since it's been kind of on my mind recently. I don't know, is Ruffy in the chat? Is Ruffy hanging out in there? I think he's got some ideas on this stuff. I'm just not sure if he's around. I don't think he is. Are we making an app? We should be making an app. We're not actually making an app right now. Right now we're just like doing stuff, but we should make some apps, dude. Y'all got any of those app ideas? What would be a good app for us to make together? So how do you do this? Like, there's like a database tab in this thing, right? Database. Right? Okay, so what if I said data source? We still don't have our CockroachDB embedded into this thing, so you have to use Postgres. I hear that they're gonna make that better at some point, but they haven't just yet. Let's make a database. It's kind of like what we're doing. So we're gonna say LDB on stream free tier cluster. The host name is gonna be whatever we connect to over here. So I guess it's gonna be like this, right? Whoop. The port is gonna be 26257. I think we do user and password authentication here. Password, I'm just gonna go over here. Okay. And database. I guess we'll put default DB. So I think, does this work? I think this is gonna complain about certs. Let's find out though. Connection attempt failed, EOF exception. All right, rip to my hopes and dreams. I think I need to make sure that the certs are configured or something, right? I think it's gonna be something like this, right? So what do I do in the CLI to make this happen is that oh yeah, I also have to use these options. Oh, this is important. I gotta use all this stuff. I think maybe if I just copy this entire string, it'll kind of work. Let's find out though. If I just use this here. Test connection. Incorrect driver enter database URL specified? No. It hurts me. Oh, is it that I have to have, or is it just I get rid of this altogether? Maybe this is the idea. Test connection. Well, this is not that easy. Maybe I get rid of these SSL mode things. This is kind of this is like good dog fooding here, you guys, because like this is definitely, yeah. Stop not working out so easy. It's not working out so easy. Why doesn't it work for me? Okay, wait, what if I just get rid of all of these SSL cert options here? And is that gonna help me? URL has to start with JDBC. Yeah, I see that. Confused. Okay. What if I grab all this stuff, add the JDBC? It added that like after I was playing with it for some reason. I don't understand why exactly. Okay, so how about this? Test connection. The server does not support SSL. Okay, that's progress. That is progress. Something feels wrong about that. That does not feel exactly like what I was expecting. So let's get rid of these SSL options here, even though I think that we do need them somehow. So get rid of this stuff. Test connection now. The server does not support SSL. That is suspicious, my friends. That is suspicious. It doesn't seem right. This is also wrong. What? I feel like it's really hard to edit this like tiny little text box. LDB on stream 673. Database something does not exist. Oh, that's interesting. Oh my god, this is so annoying. I'm so confused about like, it's like this is saying override settings above it. When I edit this, it like edits the thing down here. What if I just like sneak it? This thing is so bad. Okay, wait. We're gonna try stick this here, get rid of this. Go over here. And then we put in our options over here. What about that? Guys, this is not good. It's not good. Okay, there's one more thing I want to try, which is that I know that I'm supposed to have this SSL root cert business, CACC. Now, would that be this or would it be this? I have no clue. OpenSSL also just gets a TCP handshake, does not. I mean, presumably, like, we're just doing something wrong here, right? Because when we do it from our terminal, everything works fine. So presumably, we're just holding it wrong somehow in terms of the way that Goland wants to connect to this stuff. SSL mode equals verify full. What about that? Well, this is rather frustrating. Use SSL disabled? I don't think that's gonna work either. It just gets an EOF exception? Do I have the port wrong? GCP, freetier.gcp US. It's all seeming good. I don't know. TCP dump, Wireshark it? I guess we could try that. It feels a little sad. I feel sad. I feel regret. Okay, we can wire. Dude, this is such a cat jam, isn't it? All right, we'll Wireshark it. Boop a doop a doop a doop a doop a doop boop. Okay, so we're gonna say, I wonder if this is gonna like completely break my stream or something. So we're gonna say capture filter TCP port 26257. Does that work? And then if we say test connection, what happens? No packets? Is this not working for me? Dropping frames from TCP dump. All right. Well, we'll stop the TCP dump. I think that was kind of a bad idea. It didn't work anyway. But what's up, safe to type? Try with CLI first. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm just missing something obvious about this. But I feel like it's probably pretty important that we figure out a better way to get this all working, right? Because this is just such a frustrating first experience. And I also work on this software and it's still frustrating for me. I think for a person who's never worked on this software, it might just be like a good reason to just give up altogether. How does this thing know that there's a little, why is there like a little logo that looks like CockroachDB on this? That's so weird. How does it know to do that? I feel like it's got to be something about this options stuff, right? Like this is, I feel like suspicious maybe. Like, is there a way for me to add? Do you think it's this? Do you think I added over here, maybe? What if this is the problem? This doesn't seem right, but we could try it. Apply. Yes. Man, I don't know. I don't know, dude. This is so irritating. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of at a loss. I'm kind of at a loss. I think that you're right that we should be looking at Wireshark, but I don't think I can do that on the stream. Anyway, whatever. Let's just ignore this for now. We'll come back to this. I'm gonna make a mental note to try to figure this out another time because it's just so doofy.
Everybody knows that relational databases don't
Sans13,
because they use
thank you so much for the 3 months of
join
Twitch Prime.
and write to disk.
Thank you for spending, well, it's no longer Jeff Bezos' money, but thank you for spending your non-Jeff Bezos money on me. Port open on the server? No, it's not that. I think the server is all good, right? Because we can connect to it just fine from our CLI here. It's got to be something to do with what we're doing with our IDE, which frankly I don't understand. But anyway, let's just go ahead and do this. We'll do it with the local server for now. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna connect here. This should work okay, I think. Yes, you can close these connections. Let's test this here. This is gonna work okay. Yay, okay. All is very happy. I think what I wanted to show off is just the fact that like when you connect to a Cockroach cluster or really any database cluster with one of these IDEs and start looking at the schema for the database, it ends up sending a lot of sort of introspection queries typically, although is it actually doing that now? Maybe if I press refresh here. You see how it's like just going crazy, like spamming random queries? Like, first of all, like what? So it's just sending select star from PG proc where OID equals $1 limit 1 over and over again, potentially forever. It's a little bit suspicious, honestly. In fact, like, right, like why is this oh yeah, and you see how it's got this internal exec thing, PG function is visible. Basically, like the issue with this stuff is that like these introspection queries tend to like issue other introspection queries on the inside, and I think that they tend to be a little bit inefficient. And there's a couple one of these that came up recently that we thought we could make more efficient. I thought that maybe I would do that next. Specifically, it's something that I did a long time ago, back when I was a naive young database programmer. If I go into the cast file here, okay, so basically what this is all about is what? If I hit, let's give a little demo here. Let's say, so let's say I look at this table called pgproc that we were just talking about. pgproc is this table that gives you all of the user-defined functions or non-user-defined functions or SQL built-ins or anything that you can kind of execute as a scalar on a database Postgres-related server. And if I were to say something like, okay, so I've got this ID of this one, XOR AG or whatever. So XOR AG is like an aggregate that I guess XORs all the numbers together or something like that. If I said, you know, select this thing and I casted it to this special thing called regproc, and then maybe cast it to a string or something. Well, that did not do what I was expecting it to. There we go. Okay, so I have to cast it to an OID first or something. Anyway, so like basically what this lets you do though is it lets you like reverse from the ID of this thing into like the name of it. And you know, why do I care about this? It's basically just like for some compatibility stuff. People like to be able to quickly get back and forth. You can also go backwards, right? So if I said, you know, select XOR ag, and then I cast this to a reg proc, and then I cast it to a OID. It doesn't work in this case because there's more than, okay, so I guess I have to have like one that has a single overload. Then it gives you back the OID of this thing. So it's like, all right, like who actually cares about this stuff? Like basically nobody, except the fact that all these drivers actually care about it. It's very important for these drivers because they have all these, you know, introspection queries that use it. So if I went to GitHub code search and I search for like reg procedure, you know, you have like, actually this is like, wait a minute, I have to do view all results on GitHub. There's like 72,000 hits for this thing. And they're all like people who are like, I don't know, doing some introspection query, like casting it to this reg procedure thing. And you're like, okay. The point is that like, in order to make a database that's like compatible with this stuff, which is ultimately a goal that we do typically have, you kind of have to implement these things. And it turns out that they've got to be efficient too. Basically the problem here, and I think that there's an issue open for this one. And I wanted to see if Ruffy was here because I don't know if he's going to work on this, and I don't want to like work on something that he was about to work on, but basically there's this issue over here, improve reg procedure cast performance, that comes up over here where it's just like, it's super inefficient to do all this stuff. So let's take an example. Why don't we reconnect to our free tier cluster? I don't know why I keep disconnecting from it. It's kind of fun to have it open, even though I can't connect to it from my IDE. We'll log in over here. And the point is, if I say like select star from PG proc, and if I were to say like, let's see, select OID cast to reg proc from PG proc, and then if I like, I don't know, summed these or something, then it just like, it takes like an obscenely long time to do this, because for every, it's basically like an n squared loop. For every row in this PG proc thing, it has to do this cast. And like I was saying, as the young naive database programmer that I was when I implemented that cast, I did it in sort of like an obscenely inefficient way where we like actually issue another subquery for each of one of these casts. So it's like, it's really bad. It's really inefficient, and it's something that we've got to fix for sure. So ultimately what it does, so where are we in the code here? This is this cast.go file in Cockroach, which is the thing that implements all the casts back and forth between different types. So this is a type that's casting from an OID into like one of these special reg things. And it's, wow, it's still going. So it's very inefficient. And what it actually does under the hood is that it okay, so these are just the OID and the type cases. What we don't have is a case here for reg procedures. What we need to do is say, in the case of reg proc or OID.reg procedure, which are the same things, we'd have to have a special case here. Basically what it does without the special case is it goes into this query OID thing, which ultimately like invokes this join, right? So it's like, it runs another SQL query that's like parameterized based on a bunch of stuff. It like selects an OID comma something from PG catalog where, right? So it's just like exactly the same thing that we just did. Just like, yeah, so this took like 67 seconds, which is like completely insane. It should take like no time to make this happen. And it does this join, and what this does under the hood is, of course, like it has to materialize all the rows in memory because we don't have like a index onto these things. It's, I don't know if anybody understood that, but it's basically like kind of a mess. And we can do much better, and we're gonna. I think the way to do better here is to have we need to have a map somewhere that we can access that takes us from integer to, and what would we need? We need like procedure name, basically. And in the case of types, this thing is like super hard coded, so it's very easy for us, right? You believe, root guy, thank you for the vote of confidence. But for the case of these reg procedures, we don't actually have such a thing because they're like a hash, they're sort of hashed. They're made on the fly, I believe. So let's see if we can remember how this stuff all works. It's been a little bit since I've looked at it, TBH, but we can figure it out together. So here's an example of a built-in, right? We were looking at these last time. And in order to get its OID, what must we do? I guess what we can do is we can look at the way where we like materialize these things from, right? So that's going to be in this file, I think, pgcatalog.go. So if we search for proc somewhere, we should probably have a thing that returns its OID. No, this is the fixed return type. What we need is the actually like the actual built-in OID, right? OpenSSL support TLS v 1.3. The Postgres isn't replying to TLS 1.2 handshake? I don't know. I don't know. It's a good question. You like the sound of the keyboard? Thank you, Macon. If you hit exclamation point keyboard, you can get some more info about that. I'm actually kind of curious. I wonder if I can get somebody to come help us with the whole. Why don't you do that, Pratik, and you can report back. So it looks like what we have to do is we actually calculate it over here via this hash function, right? And I think ultimately what we need to do here is that since we don't have them available, since they're hashed on the fly, I think what we'll have to do is at the start of the program just build a giant map forward and back for these PG procs. I think that's doesn't seem unreasonable. So I think we should just do it. I'm fairly sure that we do this. So let's actually real quick, let's check something out. Let's make sure that we don't accidentally need to also include stuff like this. Like what's in, wait, PG op, is that a thing? Isn't there something that, is it op class or something? We don't have that. There's some special table that has like, you know, like less than or something. And I'm wondering if you can get less than as a proc. I feel like the answer is no, right? Yeah, definitely not. It's only for the functions. So I think this should be a fine thing to do. To just like calculate all these hashes at the start of the program and cache them basically. Although we do use this in a couple spots. We use this, okay, so we use it for aggregate functions as well as ordinary functions, but that's it. What about this song? This is kind of good. I don't know what that output might mean, so you'll have to teach me. So I think there is something that we do at the start of the program where we pass over all of these functions and like set up some stuff. So maybe we could just add a new kind of pass to that maybe. all built-ins. You got your first kiss of this song. Ooh. I think what we basically do is we're gonna make var OID to built-in map. Should I built-in map? Should I give it back the name of the built-in? Do I need to bother making it point directly to the function definition? I don't exactly know. I feel like the name should be fine. So let's just do that, because that way it's kind of like we're not extra storing information or something like that. Welcome back. Welcome back, return empty layer. So we'll say OID to built-in map contains a map of all built-in functions map from the hashed OID of all built-in functions to their name. It's getting a reply for TLS 1.2. LibreSSL OpenSSL doesn't support the Postgres start TLS protocol. It sounds bad. Looks like you got yourself a bad start TLS protocol. I don't know. I wish I knew a little bit more about TLS SSL stuff, because it's always, I've always got to look it up pretty much every time. So I think all we have to do here is we have to say, you know, OID to built-ins map of, we're going to say fdef dot or how do we do this OID hashing business? It's built-in OID. So it takes name and built-in, and we need an OID hasher, which only exists in this package. Oh my gosh, that's so annoying. Too annoying, man. It's deeply annoying. We got a little bit of a dependency cycle situation going on over here. So I suppose what we could do, because okay, when do we need to actually ultimately look at this? It's inside of this. So I suppose what we need to do is just initialize this map in the SQL package, which is one of these big ginormo packages, but like stick the map into something that people have access to, like this built-in. So we can sort of leave it here. Oh my god, it's really bad though. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I suppose what we could also do is like just put the definition of this hash machine into the built-ins package and kind of live with things that way. Maybe that'll be all right. The other option is that, I mean, what we could do is just, instead of having these built-ins have their IDs created by hash, we could just, I mean, we could literally just like generate them as sequential IDs. I feel like that should be fine. Yeah, she doesn't like it, man. Macon8, she does not like this. I actually have a quieter keyboard that I use for times in which I might get in trouble for that reason. I've also got this one. It's just got it's a little quieter, you know? What do you guys think? Both kind of loud, honestly, but one's a little bit less extra. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I could change this stuff to not be hashed. It's just like, I feel like doing that at the same time, a little bit suspicious maybe. I don't know though. Like maybe we should just change this stuff right now. Like what would be the issue with that? I feel like there would be no issue.
You can tell stuff like that from how my blood tastes?
Dactyl Manuform. I saw one of those at a keyboard like convention or something, a meetup, but I've never used one. It seems kind of difficult to deal with. I mean, like, what if we just literally assign it? It should be fine, right? What if we literally just assign each of these things a sequential ID based on this range, right? Like, the worst thing that could happen is that it changes across cockroach versions, but that could also happen already, right? It's sort of like that might happen at any time, and we don't really guarantee that these things are going to stay the same. So I don't really know why it would be so, problematic. On the other hand, I suppose I could move this whole OID hasher thing to a different package, right? I don't know if it depends on too much stuff. Depends on DeskPB. I feel like all of my streams like devolve into like dependency hell issues. It's like kind of typical. So, okay, here's a question. Like, what is the init order in Go? Does anybody know how that works? So like, let's say I have init order Go, a package that depends on another package. When does the init functions get triggered? Packets are initialized one at a time. Package level if you have to rely on init order, you're being too clever. Yeah. Initialize. It doesn't really say. I mean, presumably it happens in like, there's some sort of like topographical sort ordering thing that it does. But like, yeah, it's a little bit suspicious, right? Just out of curiosity, what if we did it, right? What if we did it like over here? We were gonna say something like, okay, populate the OID to built-in function map. We have to do this operation here rather than in the SQL built-ins package because the OID hasher can't live there. So just for our own notification, let's find out what happens, right? We're gonna say we populate this from the pgcatalog.go file in the SQL package. Because of dependency issues, we can't use OID hasher from this file. So what we're gonna do is we'll say for we already have some really sketchy stuff going on here, to be honest, but anyway, that's probably fine. So we say for name def in range tree dot, what is it called? Fun defs. We'll say I guess we have to make our OID hasher we're gonna say h dot built-in OID. We pass in name. We pass in. Oh yeah, then I think we have to iterate over all of the overloads or something, right? Where do these things live again? I always forget how this works. Function definition has multiple definitions. Okay, so we say for overload in range def dot definition h dot built-in OID name comma, and this needs a tree dot overload. Okay, so it's either this thing or this thing. I guess unary op and bin ops we don't care about because those are sort of the like operators like less than or minus or whatever, and I think we can ignore those for this particular purpose. So I guess I'm also wondering, like, do we have a way to get to just the non-op ones? I guess we don't. The other option would be we could go through, well, it's kind of complicated. Anyway, let's just, we'll just do it like a type assertion kind of thing. We'll say if equals, we'll say if overload okay equals o dot, and then we cast this to a tree dot overload. Then we can say built-ins dot OID to built-in map of, I guess we can calculate this up here. We'll say OID is equal to h dot built-in OID, and we're gonna pass in, oh, this is a pointer, so I guess we want to cast it like this. I think that's right. And then we set in our built-in map, we set the OID entry to the name of the overload. Is that right? I guess it would be just name. And this is problematic. Why? This is a, can I use OID DOID as type of map? Okay, so we just want to say the dint, and we want to intify this whole thing. Okay, what about this? Is this going to work? This might in fact work. What is the problem here? We'll just rename this to ID. Okay, well, it's a little bit nasty, but I think it probably would work, right? And then, right, and then the whole point is that back in our actual cast machine, we need to say, if we're trying to cast into a reg proc, what we can do is we grab from our map here. And then instead of searching for types.oid to type, we search for built-ins.oid to built-in map. I guess it's sort of redundant to say map, isn't it? Let's just get rid of that. We'll just call it OID to built-in. I guess it's OID to built-in name. What if we had an OID for a berg called the variable z, bar z, oidberg? That is very funny. I'm a fan. So here we're gonna say name. Here we're gonna say v.dint. Although it kind of seems like, is this a map from OID.OID? Should we keep doing that just for consistency's sake? Seems like maybe yes. Seems like maybe yes. So here we'll need to say oh, wait a minute. Actually, I think Let's just undo this. We'll just keep this as an int. It's fine. There's reasons for the other one, but not for this one. And so here we're going to just pass in our v.dint. And if not okay, we'll just return. So if not okay, you're supposed to what? Basically, this is the idea of saying select random number and then OID regback. I think it just doesn't convert anything and it keeps as a number. So I think, right, I think all we have to do is just leave in this case. And right, so what we're doing here is we're doing the cast, but we're not doing the special like processing really. So we're just going to keep it as our semantic type of the DOID is the T that we've gotten passed in. That's like trying to make sure that we still are knowing that it's a reg proc as opposed to a reg type, where they're a little different. The dint is just going to be the input dint. And then the magic comes when, if we do find a match, then all we have to do is say ret.name is equal to name. And then we can say return ret nil, and we're going to be happy at this point. Okay, I think this is gonna be good, you guys. It seems simple, but I think it's actually gonna be a big thing. If it compiles, let's just find out what actually happens when we run this thing. Small changes that have big impact. That's what we're all about. We are all about it. Okay, great. We have a fun. How come every stream I have an import cycle, man? Like what is this about? What is this about? The reason is that Tree can't import built-ins. No, wait, it's that built-ins can't import Tree? What's the problem here? No, that's right. It's, yeah, so I did something. Ah, that's so irritating. Okay, so that's fine. We'll just, instead of having this map live in the built-ins package, we'll put it next to the equivalent thing that we were just messing with in the Tree package. That is fine. Let's grab this, stick it over here. You know, we also have to make that map, don't we? This is gonna crash, so we'll have to say tree.oid to built-in name is equal to make map int string, and the length is going to be, I guess it'll just be tree.fundefs for now. Okay. Why? It's ZSH, Peter. I should have a command for that, I guess. So what imports did I add? I added a... Right, I forgot to, we can just get rid of this now. So I think I have my ZSH config on GitHub. You can check that out. It's looking more promising, right, guys? So while this is going, I've got an exciting announcement, you guys. I think you've been talking on stream for a long time about how I wish I had a PC. And I'm excited to say that I've bought a lot of PC parts. So how's that? I've bought a lot of PC parts. I think what I want to do is I want to do a PC building stream sometime soon. I'm gonna maybe set aside a Sunday, something like that, and just do it from scratch. I've got all the boxes just sitting behind me. I haven't opened any boxes. I'm gonna open them all up, screw them all together, and you guys can see when the thing doesn't post or whatever. It'll be really funny. I have to figure out how I'm gonna organize my cameras and stuff like that. I kind of want to make it so you can see the screws or whatever. I don't know. I've never built a PC, so I don't know how involved it'll really have to be. I hear it's like not that complicated, but I want to do something like that one of these Sundays. Yes, AMD. I still need to get a graphics card though, so like it might be several weeks from now, right? Like getting these graphics cards is really hard to do. Thanks to all those cryptocurrency miners. And I don't know exactly what that's gonna be like. You wouldn't want to build your first PC on a stream. Why not? It'll be super funny. Several weeks, sweet summer child. Installing a CVO is so stressful, and I've done it at least 10 times. It's months. Kind of depends on what you're willing to like do. I kind of don't want to have to get one of the new cards because I think that would be definitely months. But I feel like people are selling used cards on eBay and stuff. I'll probably just get one of those. I don't know. Like, it's not worth it to me to get like the Mega, whatever it is, the 3090 or whatever. Like, I just don't need that. So I think I'm going to try to order one from eBay or something like that. Even used stuff is absurdly overpriced. Well, I don't know then. Maybe it'll be months then. Everything is a mess. I found this I found this underground Discord of people who camp out in front of micro centers in the early morning. We're talking like they'll get there at like 3 a.m. or something and like wait for the graphics card drops, but they don't even know if graphics cards are coming because they don't make the drops public. It's really bad. It's like streetwear, you know, it's like completely ridiculous. But yeah, they have a micro center in Brooklyn. So like, but I'm not going to camp out there. It's like ridiculous. What a waste of time. It's I don't want that in my life. But there's some people I guess who do want that in their lives. But they also have a one per person per month limit because of how scarce the stock is. 1 per person per month, and they ID card you. So I don't think that there's any chance to do anything like that. Even the old obsolete stuff is absurdly expensive. 5-year-old graphics card is retailed for more than you paid for it years ago. Okay, well, I don't know, guys. It'll be sometime. Okay, so what is going on with this? We got chip manufacturers. Yeah, like they all go through this one company, like TSMC or something, right? So like, I think there's got to be some bottlenecks or whatever. So what does this mean? What does this mean? I mean, I guess it just means that we I'm confused by what's happening here. Is it that? Wait, why is this crashing? So wait, inside of this thing, it calls write uint8, and then this would crash if what? If h is nil, but h is a struct, so it can't be nil. I'm confused by what could be happening here, honestly. Oh, binary.write. So it's happening inside of this, and it's on line 375. So W is nil? So h.h is nil? How can that be true? I don't understand. Do I have to just make a... Oh, I have to make one. Okay, I'm an idiot. So you gotta just say h is equal to new OID hasher. What was it called? Make OID hasher. Okay, we'll try that again. TSMC is under stress from AMD, Apple, and Intel, so some of them are moving to Samsung foundries, right? Yeah, I was reading about this. I think there's got to be like a huge growth in the foundry industry soon, right? Like everybody in the United States is like, holy crap, we actually rely so much on TSMC for all of our, you know, advanced electronics industries. So there's got to be some like entrepreneurs thinking about this or something like that. Like, I mean, I guess entrepreneurs is kind of the wrong word. It's more like other giant companies. But I did hear that they're going to build a Samsung foundry inside of the United States, right? Did I make that up? Samsung foundry. $17 billion fab in the USA by late 2023. You can't just build a foundry. TSMC is years ahead of everyone else. Project looks like a Java project, takes a while to finish the build. Well, it's partially because I'm streaming. That's one reason why I wanted to build this PC, was that like this stream is like slow because while I'm streaming, compiling takes a long time. But another reason is that, well, a database is just a big piece of software, so it takes a long time to build in any case, no matter the language. Okay, so cool. Let's start this thing up. And why don't we just see demo it actually? And see if this works. So that should fail. And what about when we say this? Oh my God, you guys. Is this a good performance optimization or what? This used to take, how long was that? Like, it was like 60 seconds and now it takes 16 milliseconds. Do we get a gold star? I think it's pretty good. I think we get a gold star for this one. Do you think it's still correct though? Let's say, what if we say this is equal to OID? This should always be true. Where how do I do this again? As T, where not T. Did I say not T? Oh, there we go. Okay, nice. So this seems to work. It seems to work well. We did it, gentlemen and ladies. That's true. The whole chip making stuff is so specialized that Compaq made out of business. Maybe there'll be a foundry stonks. There's gotta be, dude. Like, I mean, just the fact that the entire world relies on this stuff. It's like, yes, you can't just build one. Yes, they're years ahead, but like, don't you think people are catch up? I don't know. They'll catch up. They'll catch up. I was reading about building these things. I guess it's super, super complicated, right? Like, I was reading that there's these machines inside of the foundries that cost like millions of dollars or something, just like each one, and you have to have like many of them. It's kind of crazy. But who builds the machines for the foundries? Imagine what happens if China invades Taiwan. I don't know. Don't know. It's above my geopolitics pay grade. Yeah, I don't know, dude. It's kind of crazy stuff. Anyway, point is like, yeah. Point is I've got most of a PC except for a graphics card, right, guys? I think we're gonna build it on stream. I think it might be stressful, but we'll like watch some videos ahead of time and make sure that it'll be fine. And then it'll be really funny if we like destroy the entire thing that we spent a lot of money on stream, right? We can get some sound bites throwing for content. I got one of these 5950, baby. We're going hardcore. We spent money. We got a big ass CPU. It's gonna be super fun. We're gonna compile so fast. Yeah, I walked right down to the Micro Center and said, hey, Got any 5950s? I felt like I was kind of like a drug user, you know? It was like, because these things have been sold out, right? And so it's like, somebody messaged in the Discord, like, guys, like they have like 5,000 series CPUs right now. So I like went over there during the middle of the day and bought one. I was like, yeah, hopefully I won't OD on the CPU, right? That would be not a good outcome. Also, yeah, don't do drugs, kids. If you're interested in CPU manufacturing, check out the YouTube video, Indistinguishable from Magic Manufacturing Modern Computer Chips. That sounds interesting. I would like to learn a little bit more about that. Bought a 5600 at Micro Center in Detroit for your HTVC and mailing it to you? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's pretty nuts. And it's got to be crazy, right? Like you can't get these things for enthusiasts. And I was reading also that like car manufacturers can't get their electronics for cars. That's like a much bigger problem than just like some computer nerds not being able to buy their CPU chips when they feel like it, right? It's kind of nuts. If you like look too much at supply chains, I feel like you can find some really disturbing and scary things. So we're gonna call this fix reg proc cast. Improve, or like, I guess we could call it implement, make reg proc cast efficient. Previously, the reg proc cast, which converts an OID of a built-in function to its name or vice versa, was implemented extremely inefficiently. Hold on a minute. Let me just actually check that we didn't do it backwards, because there are two directions, right? So I think we did do it backwards. It's kind of lame. So we have to do both. So basically the idea here is that we have to be able to convert from the ID to the name and also from the name to the ID. So we did the ID to the name, and I think we've also got to do this direction. So we'll do that in a sec. That is all true, but as a software person, the number of chips in modern cars is also a bit of a worry. Yeah, that's a very fair point. You know what's crazy is I actually drove, so I was skiing last week, and we rented this car from Zipcar, just like a basic car, like I think it was a Honda Civic. So just like a, your average car. And this thing, like, it does not have auto steer or anything, but it has like this steer assist thing that's hooked up to like highway lane recognition, which I just had no idea was in like basic consumer cars like a Honda Civic. So basically the way it works is you press this button, and if you're on the highway and it, can see the lanes, it doesn't like steer for you, but like you just hold your hand on the wheel and you will feel the car following the lanes for you. You don't have to turn. And if you take your hand off the wheel, it'll be like, keep your hand on the wheel. So it doesn't let you just take your hand off the wheel, but if you just like maintain a little bit of downward pressure, like along the wheel, it turns the car for you on the highway. It's crazy, honestly. I just had no idea that was a thing. A little bit, I would say it's a little bit scary. The fact that it has influence over the steering thing, like what if there was a bug, right? It throws you into a wall. I don't know, very scary stuff. I think self-driving car is like interesting field, but the fact that they've got some of these components in even like a Honda Civic is just completely wild to me. Terrifying. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so we're gonna come back and add the opposite direction in a sec, but I will just I'm gonna take a quick 1 minute break. Don't go anywhere, you guys. I will be right back. I'm back. I'm back. Okay, so we're gonna go the opposite direction now. We're gonna make sure that it's efficient the other way. So let's go back to our cast machine. And I think, okay, so how's this thing organized? It's basically like a big end-to-end thing. The outer one is where we're casting 2. Perform cast that for... So this is saying new d-bit array from int. So the outer one is the one that we're casting 2, which means that we need to find the case where we're casting to an OID from a string, right? So here's the case from another OID, and the case from string parse OID. Okay. So you see, we end up delegating back to query OID here, and that's bad. We should do better. So, what about this song? Jeez Louise. Never. So this one's really simple. Really, oh, you know what the problem is that we don't have the stupid OID hasher exported in this package. Oh, that's so annoying. You know what we should do is we should just populate it in here. We should cache it. I think that would be the easier thing. So we're gonna say OID is the cached hash cached OID hasher dot built-in OID result for this. Guess it has to be inside of these overload impls though. Make a connection for IntelliData instead of using the database field as what? You have to use the database? You put that in the database field? That feels super random. I will check it out. Thank you for trying that. So you're saying that I have to put LDB on stream 673 dot default DB? That feels super weird, honestly, but I'll take your word for it. Let's find out. Test connection. Well, bam. What? That's so crazy. Dude, that's so weird. I don't understand why that would be the case. That is absolutely bizarre to me. But very cool. Thank you. We have to figure out a way to document that more effectively. Oh my god, it's so cool. Look, so here's my tables and my databases in this free tier cluster. Wow. Truly amazing stuff. I don't know why I wanted to do this. Oh yeah, it was just to demonstrate some of these broken introspection queries, but I guess we can ignore that for now. The instructions are on the Connect tab. Oh, okay, I just didn't pay attention to the instructions right on the tab. That's fine. That is fine. You live and you learn, you know, like sometimes you have to learn by playing around for like 30 minutes and having someone help you. But thank you, Pratik. Very much appreciated. So here we're gonna say OID int. And then back in our loop, which is over here, we're gonna say overload dot OID is equal to ID. I guess it's actually this thing. Oops. Let's call this built-in OID. And then this thing we can call just like ID or something. go like this. Okay, so then back in our actual code here, instead of running query OID, which is super pointless, we just get to say return funcdef dot. Oh, but which definition do we return? Interesting. Interesting. So basically I think what's happening here is that if we, so check it out. In Postgres, let's say we had a function like max. So max, if you try to do this, there's more than one function named max, right? So the whole point is that we can't disambiguate this way, and I wonder what we do. So if I said select max reg procedure, more than one function named max, okay. And I think we do the same thing with this one. Okay, so that's fine. So where does that actually get returned though? Like who is making that error message? More than one function named. Well, it can't be true that those are the only two mentions of it, right? That seems extremely improbable. So is it maybe more than one? There we go. Okay, so it actually is inside of query OID. Okay. So no problem. We'll just basically, we'll say down here, if len funcdef dot definition is greater than 1, we're gonna say return nil, and we'll resynthesize this error over here. More than one function named, and we'll stick our name that we're looking up. So that's gonna be S, I think. I guess it's going to be named like s dot, wait, name dot. Do I have it in this funcdef thing? There we go, funcdef dot name. And I guess we single quote it. Kind of wondering if we have to just kind of thinking about whether we have to like protect this PII wise, and I think the answer is that we don't, because these are kind of hard-coded inside of the program, so it doesn't really matter. I guess it's okay. Okay, so if this is like this, we leave. Otherwise, we're gonna say def is equal to funcdef dot definition of 0, and we're gonna say if overload okay is equal to, we'll say overload comma okay is equal to def dot tree dot overload. I think this should always be a tree.overload. I guess it's an overload since we're in the tree package. But so if it's not, we'll just return some kind of error. If not okay, we'll return nil. Errors dot, well, I guess it is like sort of an assertion error. Assertion failed F. Invalid non-overload reg proc or something. I don't know. This is like a weird case that will not really come up. And we're going to give the name of it in case it does in fact come up and we're confused. And then otherwise, if it is the case, we're going to return nil comma overload dot OID. Wait, what do we actually want to return here? No, wait, we want to return it like this. Except what we want to actually return is what exactly? A new DOID. Let's see how they do it in the query OID function here. I guess this should actually just be a Okay, so how about this? So we've populated our return DOID, and then we can actually populate its name as well, since we've got that, and that's going to be funcdef.name. Then we just return it. So we just can say return this comma nil, I think, and then be good to go. Okay, so now that we've done that, I think what this gets us is ultimately that if we rebuild now, then we're going to have an efficient transformation forward and backward for each of these types of casts, which is a good thing. Very good thing. What's up, Bye James? Welcome, welcome. Happy Friday to you as well. We were just enjoying a moment of silent contemplation while we think about what all of the computer is doing while compiling this database. Something I do frequently. A lot of stuff that the computer has to do for this. Big wows. Very exhausting for it. Poor little buddy. It's got to compile. I'm just like telling it to do the most annoying shit. Compile the database, stream to the internet. Integrate all of these like video things from my camera. 2 cameras. Poor computer. You really should feel bad for it. Anyway, all right, let's see if this is going to be improved. So we know that this is fast now. And the other question, right, what was the inefficient one that was in the issue here? Okay, so this is now much more efficient. It used to take 528 milliseconds and now it takes 5 milliseconds. So that's a pretty good thing. You know, it's 100x improvement. I will take it. And I think everyone should be really happy for that. Yay, yay, we did it, guys. Congratulations to all of us. So proud. All right. So let's add this to our commit. and improve our commit message. So let's see. Previously implemented inefficiently. Ultimately, you have to rematerialize every built into memory and filter. This can be blah, 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 blah. Okay, so now both the OID to name and name to OID directions are made into constant time lookups by simply preparing a map of the OID to name and vice versa at startup time. Release note. Multiple issues. 4 a.m. mark. Oh my gosh, yeah, I definitely get some sleep, my friend. Thank you so much for popping into the stream and helping me read our own documentation. I really appreciate that. But yeah, I guess I'll see you next time. Have a good rest. So release note here is going to be performance improvement, right? Performance improvement. Casts related to, or I guess it's sort of like casts into and out of, well, it's just into. Casts into the regproc pseudo type are made much more efficient. They're now implemented, now implemented as a constant time lookup instead of, well, why don't I'll be a little bit more helpful for users. These release notes are really for users, so it's really like introspection queries that use the regproc casts into the regproc pseudotype are made much more efficient. They're now implemented as a constant time lookup instead of a recursive, not really recursive, instead of an internal query. Okay, release justification is like low risk, high benefit change. Okay, all right, we did it. We did it. Let's go ahead and push this up into a new branch here, make a PR. And I think this one also has an associated issue. So we can mark this as closed. Kitten Slayer 22, welcome to the stream, my friend. Don't give me such a kappa kind of sarcasm there. You have to introduce yourself politely. No, I'm just kidding. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing great. We're just kind of hanging out. We're listening to some chill hip hop beats to study and relax to that also happen to be DMCA free. We're closing issues. We are thanking people for following us, like B Clace. You know, we're just kind of doing our thing here. So who's gonna review this? Let's let this Cockroach DB SQL Experience team. Good team for this. Kitten Slayer, thank you too for the follow. Exciting stuff, I think. I think this is exciting stuff. I think that it's hard to, when you have something that's like takes 500 milliseconds, now it takes 5 milliseconds. That's like, it feels like more exciting than maybe you can perceive it as being. But in my head, I'm feeling pretty psyched about it. I think 100 times efficiency gains, right, guys? That's what we like to see on this stream. What should we do now, though? So we've kind of done 2 issues today. We've watched a funny YouTube video, and honestly, I feel like normally we're doing these issues that take like way longer than just a little bit, and that means that I can stream for hours and hours without stopping. And now I'm like, oh crap, I finished both of the issues that I was thinking of looking at. Wonder if there's any more in the same scope. Like, I suppose we could sort of improve all of these like pseudo-type casts, because they do end up getting used quite a bit. Like, I think we have a special case for types, and we have a special case for tables, and we now have a special case for procedures, and I'm wondering whether we ought to also have another special case for the other ones, which frankly, I don't remember what the other ones are. For context, I don't know, you guys, if you are familiar with this, probably it's super random, but it's like, there's a few of these like special like Postgres pseudo type things that let you turn numbers into types of objects. Like for example, if I made a table like foo, and I wanted to get its identifier behind the scenes so I can play with it in like introspection catalog things, like, you know, for example, we were looking at how you could open a, you know, Postgres or Cockroach database inside of IntelliJ or any of these other GUI tools. Like ultimately, like what the tool is doing behind the scenes is it's like presumably making a bunch of hash maps involving these IDs to keep track of the tables and stuff behind the scenes of its own self, in a sense. So it's like these introspection queries are actually super important. And in order to get the idea of such a table, like you can do this. You can say select star from PG class where rel name is equal to foo, I think. This is going to give me a bunch of information. I can find out that the ID of the table is 52. But I can also kind of convert back and forth using this kind of weird reg class syntax, which is like the table analog of the reg proc one that we were just looking at. So if I can say select foo, cast it to a reg class, and then cast it to an int, I think this gives me a 52. So like this is turning the table name into the ID of the table. And then vice versa, I can say select 52, turn it into a reg class, and I think I get foo back. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, these programs use this stuff quite a bit, and that's why it's important to make them efficient. I think right now they're quite inefficient, and that we're only just sort of starting to discover that bothers people. So hence trying to fix it. So how can I figure out all the different types of these things? Maybe I can search like, maybe if I just search Postgres reg class, it'll give me a big list of all of these different types of things. Yeah, I think this is the list. So you got proc and procedure, which are basically the same, except one of them takes argument types, kind of random. PG oper, which is the operator name. Do we support that? Or is that something that we just kind of ignored? Select plus reg oper. No, we don't support that. That's kind of interesting. So I think in that case, it means that we've done special cases for all. It's basically just like 3 of them, right? Isn't there namespace too? That maybe this is like an old version. Yeah, there's like a few more. So you got reg roll. I don't think we support that. Reg roll. Reg type we talked about. Proc we talked about. Operator we don't support. Namespace I'm fairly sure we do support. Yeah, so this one is a little bit more irritating, I want to say, because it actually does require like doing work. So in order to figure out, so what a namespace is for CockroachDB is, I believe it's just like all of the different quote unquote databases. So right, there's sort of this like 3-level hierarchy of namespaces in Postgres-like databases. There's like the quote unquote database, and then databases contain many schemas, and then each schema contains many tables, indexes, views, blah, blah, blah. And I think what a namespace is a database, or is it a schema? Let's find out. So if I said create schema, my schema, and then I said select my schema reg namespace, what do I get? Ah, I do actually get something. So I guess it's actually a schema. So if I said create database, blah, blah, and then I said select blah, blah, cast to reg namespace, I guess I'd get nothing. Yeah. Okay, so namespaces are schemas. I guess that means that I have to figure out how to like how to immediately look up a namespace given or a schema given a name. I think like by default what we're ending up doing is since we fall back to this like join method, which ends up just querying the PG class stuff again, it like probably just enumerates every single schema in the database, which maybe actually isn't that bad for schemas since there's so few of them. I feel like the critical cases are like types, tables, built-ins, right? I don't know. Out of curiosity, if I go to GitHub code search and I search for people who are using reg namespace, how many, whoops, I think I need to search, view all results on GitHub. 14,000 hits. That's kind of a lot. What if I search for like a cast to reg namespace? Well, I don't actually see anything from any ORMs. Usually at the top, there's like a bunch of ORM code that is doing these things. I don't really see those. Oh, maybe this is one though. What's up, Gyro? How's it going? I feel like maybe this one's fine. So here's a special case for the tables though. What we do is we have a string, we sort of decompose it, we parse it a little bit, turn it into an object, and then we end up passing it to the planner so we can resolve the name. And this is more efficient than having to go all the way to PG catalog because you just don't have to reinvoke SQL, and it's just sort of like a little bit more efficient. And for namespaces, I guess we'll just have to reinvoke SQL for now, unless we feel like doing something. Like ultimately what you could do is you could say, I don't know if we have a method like planner.resolve schema. I guess we don't. But you could make such a thing and then it would be more efficient. I feel like I'll probably just not do that though. Nah. Out of curiosity for the case where we are casting from an integer to a reg class. See, I don't see a case for that, which feels like fairly suspicious, right? Like, so if I said, so if I said something like select OID reg class string from PG class limit 1, does that not work? And then I just let this thing go free. Like, wouldn't this take kind of a long time? 179 milliseconds. It really should be more efficient. And the reason that this is slow is it has to continually like re-invoke a query. For every line in this table, it's got to make a fresh planner and it's got to like send a whole thing. And I don't know if it's sharing any caches. So I feel like this could be a lot better. On the other hand, if I said select rel name reg class from PG class. So this is like the opposite direction, right? It's like from name to integer. I feel like this should be more efficient. Relation backward dependencies do not exist. Oh, is it that I have to like scope it by schema or something, right? So this is like a little bit more annoying to do. Whatever. I'll just kind of skip this one. I think this could be improved though, for sure. Like, I think ideally what we would do here is instead of, I think we would have a special case here. We'd say oid.t reg class, and we need to say like, now given the ID, resolve the table, right? It's basically that simple. And so what we would need to do is find our whatever, like, what is the most efficient way to get a table name given an ID. I actually don't know. Like we would need to have some sort of, the problem is like the execution environment that we're in this particular part of the code is like sort of limited, I think. Right, it's like we have this stupid eval context thing, which means that we can say we can get a planner from it, but I guess this is the reason why we did this in the first place. It's just much more convenient to like reach back into SQL and do something again from SQL. Like the fact that we have a resolved table name, but we don't have a resolved table by OID is sort of the problem ultimately. Kind of interesting that we do have this lookup schema method though, so I think that we could theoretically use that to implement reg namespace more efficiently. I think if we had one of these resolvers, I always forget how this works. Resolve schema name by ID. The remaining uses of this should be plumbed through the desk collections resolve schema by ID. Doesn't seem to exist. In general, I just always forget like whether it, yeah, you see this, like this lookup table by ID thing? This is basically what we want. But what I don't understand is like where does one get one of the things that can do this? We actually have, we actually have this available. So I suppose maybe we could just export it via this eval planner thing. Maybe that's all we have to do. Out of curiosity, let's just try this out. see what it gets us. So if I said we have now a lookup table by ID, and then we just keep the same signatures that's actually on the function that we were looking at. And then from our cast, we can literally just say ctx.planner.lookup table by ID. We give it the context. We pass in the table ID, which is going to be the v.dint. I guess we have to cast it, deskpb.id. Does CockroachDB aim for PostgreSQL compatibility? It's kind of like partial. So we do aim whenever possible for Postgres compatibility, just because we've noticed that people like to be able to use familiar SQL primitives and migrate their applications that work on Postgres to other databases like Cockroach or Aurora or whatever it is that they want to use, like the more clustered version of Postgres. So whenever we can, we do try to maintain compatibility. We don't have it everywhere. There's a lot of stuff that Postgres has that we don't support and that we'll never support. But in general, yeah, if we're going to add a feature, like I guess a recent example is like geospatial indexing. We added geospatial indexing, which lets you index by geography or location or something like that. We tried to maintain sort of the compatibility with what Postgres is like libgeo or whatever it's called, PostGIS implementation is, just because people are so familiar with that. And there's just such a big ecosystem around Postgres stuff that people generally like to, yeah, stay inside of it. So if we can, we do. Kind of the idea. Plus, it gets you a lot of free stuff, right? Like, this was kind of a strategic choice that I think we made earlier on to, like, to what extent do we want to be compatible with stuff? Ultimately, like, what it does is it lets you, you know, be able to use, you know, familiar tools like this IntelliJ-based DB inspector thing on a Cockroach DB cluster without us having to have written, you know, a plugin or, like, asked JetBrains to, like, hey, can you please support this, like, random dialect of SQL that Cockroach supports up front. In the end, it turns out that we do have to do that a lot of cases just because every database has its quirks and, like, there's differences and blah, blah, blah. But I think it got us some, like, efficient sort of startup costs ultimately. Like, could avoid doing that until kind of later. Donde está el context.context? Where is the context? Donde está? Is that like a different language? I don't know any other languages besides English, FYI. I guess you pointed out something, which is that the context was not there. So thank you for that. But anyway, yeah, I think what's confusing here is that we have this other eval context thing, which I guess contains the context.context. But thank you for pointing that out. I was just on a monologue, not even looking at my my screen here. So if we look this up, what does this give us back? A table descriptor and an error. So here we can say if error is not equal to nil, return nil error. And if we do find it, I guess what we do is we construct our OID thing. Actually, I think here the idea is we don't want to return error. We want to return. So right, the example here is like, what if we said select, you know, some random number and we cast this to a reg class? What happens is that it doesn't error out. It just gives us back the same number. And I think that's just basically a quirk, but we have to support it. So what we do is we say, we construct our OID thing that we're going to be returning. We keep its same semantic type, which is just some kind of implementation detail stuff. We set its int to the thing that we're passed in. And then in the case of an error, we just return the ret and we suppress the error. So like this. And then if we do find a match, then all we do is we set the name properly. So we get to say, or we say ret.name is equal to desk.getName, I guess. And we say return ret nil and move on with our lives. Easy peasy, right? I think what we could, I feel like a more idiomatic Go way of doing this would be to say, if error is equal to nil, then we say this. Then we can just kind of make it a little bit more small. It's kind of nice, right? Save like 2 lines of code. Yep. Cool. Cool. So let's see what happens when we try this out. I did something bad. Oh yeah, this stupid problem. Oh, this is so annoying. This is the reason that we don't export this this function. And it's basically that this lookup table. Oh yeah, this is like all gonna be kind of messed up, I think. And maybe we can sort of avoid it somehow. Basically, the problem is that like this package that I'm editing here is like this tree package, which I think mostly has functionality related to our like AST and built-in functions. I don't know. It's a little bit messy that the casts and built-in function implementation sort of live in this sub package, but it is what it is. But the issue is basically that to call into this lookup table by ID thing, you have to have an ID that is in the shape of this desk pb.id thing. But you know what's kind of interesting is that it seems to be like just literally an alias for tree.id. So I wonder what would happen if I just passed in this. Does that work? So just like this rather? It does not. It's so lame. I always have been confused by the way that Go handles identical type definitions. Like we use this pattern all over the place where it's like, you know, define a type as the same as some other type called the same thing in a different package. And I guess we've implemented some other stuff on it, so fair enough. But I just don't, it's kind of irritating though. Like I'm not exactly sure how we would get around this. Besides just not exporting this function, which sort of ruins the whole point. I suppose we could like pull this, just this like one type definition out, have it live somewhere else, but it feels bad. I suppose I could literally pull it out into a package that's like catalog ID. I feel like that's going to be a really bad rabbit hole. I guess I could try it. I don't know. So let's make a new package. See you, Lisa. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good weekend. So what should I call it? deskpb.id. The thing is, like, this thing probably lives inside of this generated code, which feels really scary. So like if I move the location of this type, I think what I would have to do is okay, so custom, we have these cast types, and I suppose what I could maybe do is just say that the cast type is equal to like catalog ID.id or something, but it just seems really suspicious, to be honest. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. This just feels like kind of wrong. Okay, so here's another alternative. What about this idea? What about instead of changing all of that nonsense, which seems like really horrific, we just change this lookup table by ID to take in a different type instead. So instead of taking in a deskpb.id, it could just take in a generic tree.id. But then it kind of destroys the type safety. That's like kind of the whole point, right? So wait, let's look at these usages again. So here we have a case where we are, right, this is the case we're messing with. I guess my question is, are we even really gaining anything from this so-called type safety? Like we have, here's where we just cast it into a deskpb.id, so that's kind of pointless, right? This is some sort of, what is this? A one at a time schema resolver? This is kind of wild, friends. I see. I think like most of the time, like when we call these things, we're just calling them on literal IDs that are stored in these protobufs. So I guess you do like kind of gain some stuff from the type safety, I guess. This is so dumb. Another dumb thing about this is that if Go had a way to overload functions based on type, I would also not have this problem because I could just make another one called the same thing that had, you know, table ID, tree.id, I'd cast it in this thing because this thing has access to both of the types, obviously. And I would have no problem. So, I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed. Yeah. I'm kind of at a loss. This is so stupid. It's like the literal world's dumbest thing to get stuck on. Like I could have a lookup table by tree ID, right? But that's just so foul. And then I would have another, you know, side-by-side implementation here that was like this. And then here I would just say return p.lookup_table by ID context, and then I would just cast it deskpb.id of table ID. I mean, it feels very janky, but maybe like once you do it, it's like, is this really so bad? Because everything just sort of works. So I'll say lookup table by tree ID is the same as lookup table by ID, but is exported so that people or callers who can't import deskpb.id due to dependency issues can still use this useful function. I don't know. It's pretty bad. So lookup table by tree ID returns a table descriptor given an ID or an error if one doesn't exist. Is that actually true? What happens in the case where it doesn't exist? Do we just avoid cached? Question is like if nothing is there, if required to set lookup return an error if the item's not. Oh, so it's actually I think what we have to say is that like if it doesn't exist, we return nil or something. Where is that? Or nil if none exists. I think that's basically. So this is going to be tree.id, or just like ID in this case, I guess. That's the whole point. And then here we can finally just say something like this. So I guess here we have to check if error is equal to nil, if desk is not equal to nil, and error is equal to nil. Then we can do this stuff, and we're good to go. All right, well, great. I think, can we try this out, or are we gonna have more compilation issues at this point? Guess it's time to find out. Please. Please. Do not forsake me. Oh, right. There's another major issue, which is that, of course... Whatever. So basically the problem here is that this guy is now returning an entire catalog.table descriptor, which is this big fat object that doesn't really have, yeah, it's just like the dependencies are sort of inverted here. So I think, I don't know, for now, I don't know if people are gonna like not really like this. I feel like I wouldn't like this if I were them, but let's just try returning a table name instead of the entire descriptor, because that's all we really need. And we'll see if people are dissatisfied with that. So here we return a tree.table name dot. I guess we have to now decompose this stuff. So desk error is equal to this. We'll say if error is not equal to, if error is equal to nil, or desk dot error is equal to nil. Error is not equal to nil, or desk dot, or if desk is equal to nil, right? So these are the cases where we just return nothing, comma, error. Otherwise we return desk dot get name. I guess this is just a name, and it's just a string really, not even a table name, which is kind of a little bit bizarre. TBH, but I guess that's just, it's just life. We don't have the parent schema or anything, so we just have a name, and we return nil here. So let's change this return value to be a string. We'll go back out and do the same thing over here. Lookup table name by tree ID. Yes, at this point we could also just call it by ID, right? Nobody's gonna be too mad. Makes it a little bit simpler looking. Okay, so then change our title here so we can say lookup table name by ID. Oh, and this is actually kind of nice. In this case, we don't have to play this desk shenanigans, because if the desk is not found, we're just going to return empty string, and so we can unconditionally set ret.name here. I think it'll be like this, and then return the whole thing, and then we're good. We are good to go. So let's see if we've appeased everybody this time. Seems a bit more promising. So what's up, guys? What's happening on your Friday nights? Is anybody drinking wine? People cooking? People preparing for their weekends? Okay, so these are things that I've got to fix, right? I think I knew that this would come up. Drinking some homebrew? Nice. An oatmeal stout. Wow, that's pretty awesome. How long does that take to make? In some doc, you forgot to change method name. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you, Portuguese Captain. Nice to see you. It's been a little bit. What is up? Lookup table, you're right. Lookup table name by ID. Thank you, Magus, for pointing that out. Any beer takes 3 to 5 weeks. Do you ever like, do you ever just like really just feel like, dang it, this is taking way too long. Like the anticipation is too strong. Like how many concurrent batches do you have going on at once? I have a few friends who've gotten into home brewing, but I've never really been so close to it by ID. Okay. So this is these we've got to just sort of implement, this is just a no op because we use it for some tests, I think is what's going on here. You keep 2, one that I start and one that I start 3 to weeks after, so it keeps a good rotation. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes plenty of sense. Oh, we've got to have one for dummy eval planner as well. So we've got to sort of have 2 dummy implementations of this thing, it looks like.
Everybody knows that relational databases don't scale because they use
Grandpa's iPad.
join
Welcome to the stream, and thank you so much
forget.
for the gift sub to Oscar Allen. I appreciate your support, my friend. Grandpa's iPad. I very much like that username. It is pretty funny. But yeah, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. It's very nice of you. Lookup table name by ID is part of the tree.eval database interface. Then here, I guess we do this. Where do these sequence ones live? Kind of confused why we have to do this, honestly, but it is what it is. Feels like we could have structured things a little bit better. Maybe like embedded a struct that implements both of these things at the same time or something like that. As it is, it's like a little bit odd that you have to always do both of them for something that just is totally test code, but that is fine. Okay, and there's just one other one of these same kind of ideas, I think. So import table creation. It's probably another spot where we just want to implement a sort of do nothing version of this function. So we'll put it right here. We'll call it import sequence operators, lookup table name by ID. Go like this. All right. Pretty productive stream so far today. 2 issues solved, and then we're sort of doing this third pro bono issue. Oh, we got a review. Okay, we can go through this review on stream too after we're done with this thing. Let's see. So this, if we finished compiling this, let's open up our demo. And my point is that this thing should now be efficient for, so we can do this kind of doofy query where we say select OID reg class from PG class. So this is for everyone. Oh, it's not gonna, oh, it does work fine. There's sort of these, what is this about? That's a little suspicious. So let's do, we'll say rel name, comma, OID reg class. So these things should be the same. And they're not in the case of the indexes, which is weird. Is this expected or not? Let's say create table. I see, so it kind of works for, I think that is expected actually, because we don't provide uniqueness on those things. What's up, Chronix? What are we listening to? This is a DMCA free lo-fi beats playlist from Spotify. I can give you a link to it if you like it. The link is this thing. So I think this is basically correct. I'm not Not 1,000% sure that this is any good. I guess we can test it by doing like, we can open up an old version of Cockroach, making sure that we're sort of the same here. So 20.2 Cockroach demo. Let's see if we get the same kind of thing. We actually don't. So that's not good, right? So, oh, obviously the problem is that, ooh, that's so irritating. This actually kind of sucks. Okay, so I don't think we can go ahead and continue with this strategy, basically because I forgot that these reg classes, it's not just tables, it's also indexes. And the problem is with the indexes is that they're hashed. And so there isn't really a way to have a reverse lookup from index ID to index name at the moment, because we don't have unique IDs for indexes. Something that I want to change. I think it's kind of problematic, actually, for several reasons that we don't give indexes global unique identifiers. They're sort of scoped IDs right now, which is, it's not so good. So I think we'll fix that, but I don't think that we can really keep this for now, which is fine. Custom key bindings for ID. This is the second time somebody asked me this. You know, I've never actually tried to export my key bindings here. I can try to do that. Let's see. Do you know how to do it? Export settings or something? Manage IDE settings, export settings. I'm kind of nervous that this is gonna like export some like passwords or something. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't be good. Oh, it lets me pick. Please select the settings to export. Key map. What if I just do that? Sorry. I did it. I did it the manual way. Okay, export settings to put it just here. Okay, so let's see. Let's go ahead and wait, crap. What did I call it? Settings.zip. Okay, so I'll just copy this and put it into a gist. How about? Actually, we'll keep it secret. Secret, just for this stream. I don't think that there's going to be all that much exciting stuff in there. MFS, but I hope it helps you. You're very welcome. Okay, so let's see. Given this, okay, let's actually just go ahead and I think we'll probably just sort of put a pause on this because we determined that it's not going to really work. So let's make a new branch. Failed reg class cast enhancement. So we're going to say SQL failed attempt to improve ID to name cast for reg class. The reason this failed is that I forgot that there isn't a globally unique map from index ID to index name, but this is an essential part of what it would mean to implement an efficient and correct ID to name cast for reg class, since reg class, PG class include both tables, indexes, views, sequences, etc. Okay. So we're done with that. So let's get back to our other branch here. Fix reg proc cast and see if we can respond to this review. Okay, so this is a good point. It is not something I was modifying, but it's a good point that the reg type cast doesn't really work. I think we have something kind of wrong here, which is that if you make a user defined type, this isn't going to work correctly. So this needs to be fixed for sure. Yeah. Make an issue for that. So we're gonna say SQL reg type casts don't work for user defined types. Currently trying to cast from a type ID to a type name via reg type does not work if the type is user defined. Repro, make a quick repro here. So we'll say create type T as enum A B. Is this how this works? Then if I said select star from PG type, where tip name is equal to T, and then I said select 10,050 to reg type, does not work. Whereas it works for these other ones. So if I said select this thing, reg type name, it would work. What? Wait, did I just mistype it? 2287? Is this just broken altogether? That would surprise me. It's that you have to, right, I forgot that you have to like interpose through this. Something about this is like super broken. Anyway, back to our original example. If I were to say like this, I think this should still fail. Okay, so let's make our repro one more time just to make it really concise. So we're gonna say create type, and then we can say select OID to reg type where from PG type where tip name is equal to T. Okay. This should return T, not, yeah. Okay, so we made a new issue, filed this. Is there a way we can warn ourselves in the future if we do support user-defined functions? I can't think of one. I'll add it to the tracking issue though. Okay, so we do have a user-defined function issue here that we can just add a little thing for. Okay, make sure that reg proc casts work properly both to and from OID name. C, and then our PR is 61-11. And then I can say that I've at least we need to look up for this case too? Okay, so what is this case? This case is so this case is casting two. What is this? What is this? This is the case of casting to an integer from, what the heck is this? This casting to an integer from a, no. Always get this confused. It's casting to an OID from an OID, or to an OID from an integer. Wait, so do we have to have this thing in two places basically? Kind of seems like it, right? Yeah. Yep. So what we should do here is just make a little helper function, I guess. So we could say perform perform OID cast or something, and it's going to take, it's basically just like this stuff. So the T is going to be the from type, I guess. So like, I guess I'll just call it T for now and we can rename it. The V is the datum. But the datum is different, right? So the whole point is that we just want to be passing in like a dint, I think. I dint. Guess we can call it V and then just get rid of all of these. And I guess we also have to pass in a context.context, and we've got to be returning the right thing as well. So we've got to be returning a datum comma error, I think. Yes. Oh, I guess we have to be actually passing in, it's irritating. So this has to be an eval context, I guess. And then the default case, I guess we're just gonna pass, we've got to make a, this needs to be a datum. I guess we can just, does this work? Is this allowed? I don't know. New dint of V. Okay. So then we get to say over here, I think we can say like, return perform OID cast CTX TV. No, V is going to be I. Right? Get rid of this stuff. And then we can also put this here. Get rid of all this stuff. This is going to be v.dint. So that's actually very nice. A nice cleanup. So thank you to Ruffy for reviewing this. Good point. We had some special cases above that were not being done here properly. I've refactored to include a function out that can be used in both places. Okay, very cool. So let's make a comment on this. Perform OID cast does performs a special. I guess it's like, let's see. Cast the input. I guess it's really more like perform. We'll say perform int to OID cast. Cache cast the input integer to the OID type given by the input type set t. Okay, cool. So this is gonna be an improvement, you guys. Big money. Big money. Okay, so I guess there's two things. One is that the tests are failing here, so let's quickly look into that. Huh. So we're actually getting a test failure here, which says, uh-oh. Anyway, we're getting a test failure here that says, expected cannot access virtual schema in anonymous database, but no error occurred. I guess it seems like a implementation detail that doesn't have to exist. I think we could safely get rid of that one, right? I'm not exactly sure. I think the trouble is basically that, like, if we eventually supported user-defined functions, then what would it mean to select try to convert a built-in function name to an ID when that built-in function was defined in a particular database? I think what would happen is it just wouldn't be found, and that's totally fine. If we had no database, we have no scope, we can't find any functions that are scoped to a schema or anything like that, but we can still look up the built-ins. I feel like that's totally fine. So I think I can just delete this sort of negative test case and move on. But the one other thing that Ruffy wanted me to look at was this thing. So could you add a benchmark similar to this one for run round trip benchmark? Okay, sure. So rm queries bench test.go. This is a new one for me. Rm queries bench test. So what is this about? It says, I guess this is the idea of this one, is to make sure that we are not egregiously increasing the number of round trips for stuff like this, which I think makes quite a lot of sense. Let's just, I don't know why this is taking forever. So the benchmark that we would want to add, right, it's like the thing basically from this issue that we're closing. And I guess what we can do here is probably make this query our benchmark query. And I think it'll go much faster now, which is quite exciting. quite exciting indeed. So we're gonna make a new case here. So it'll be name is gonna be active record type introspection query, right? Setup. Oh, you need to have a setup. I see. But I think in this case, I actually don't need to have a setup because this query actually, I think, is just going to do the same thing no matter what. There is no special user-defined stuff here. We're joining PG type and PG range, which are static in our database right now, more or less. Okay. Why did that not include, why did that weirdly include the new lines as literals? There we go. Okay, so I guess what we'll have to do is put backticks, right? Backticks, paste, okay, all good. So we've got our setup. Oh, this is our setup though. No, our setup's gonna be empty, and this is gonna be our statement actually. So setup is gonna be empty, which I guess means we just don't need to specify it at all. Cool, okay, so we can run that in a little bit. For the time being, I think what we can do is also open up that test file that we think is gonna have to change, and just get rid of this error case. Just get rid of this, should be fine. Okay, so let's rerun our test case that used to be failing. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so that's all good. Passing our test. Let's just try to figure out how to run this thing. So how do I run this thing exactly? Package bench. So do I say make bench? Bench is equals benchmark ORM queries. Package equals package bench DDL analysis and see what happens. I've never run these. Should be interesting. I'm not exactly sure, like, what do I do with these, though? Like, I don't really understand. Okay, I guess we could look at the PR where they added this stuff, and see what they did. They added something called benchmark expectations, but I don't understand how to run those tests exactly. It's confusing to me. What is this benchmark expectations business? Maybe if I grab for that name, benchmark expectations. Validate benchmark data test? What? Okay, wait, so if I say validate benchmark data test, what does this do? It runs all of the benchmarks. Skip under stress, skip under race, skip under short, skip under metamorphic, and skip with issue. Okay, so we just never run this though? Okay. I guess, there is a rewrite flag. Okay, let's just unskip this and we'll just run it. It's kind of annoying. It's gonna be so slow. Can I only do some of them? Kind of seems like I have to do all of them, right? What if I just manually adjust it? That seems fine, right? Benchmark expectations. So it sort of seems like the pattern is you say for ORM queries, active record type introspective query, like this. Seems fine, right, guys? Totally legit. Okay, so let's add all of these back. And push. Then we can respond to our review. Okay, cool guys. Well, I think it's probably about it for me. It's been just under 4 hours. I think we had some good fun. We got a lot done. I feel like this was a super productive stream. We got 2 entire issues finished. It's really quite exciting. Do you find you can do better work when you can talk through things on stream in Porter? I mean, to be perfectly honest, I would say that I can definitely work much more efficiently when I'm not doing things on stream. So I can definitely get more done faster, but there is something that about streaming that is super, super good, which is that the level of concentration can kind of go up, right? Because you're forced to just like blah, 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 talk at the camera, and you can't like let your monkey brain go off and do something else. And for me, like my day job these days is not programming, it's management. So I'm really not doing any programming during the week. And I think like it can be pretty hard for me to focus on, you know, doing some stuff related to the code, which I find really edifying and fun and stuff like that. So I think for me, doing the stream is a good way to do a little programming, like remember what's going on in the code, and do a little DevRel and just kind of have some fun. So I think it's kind of a mixed bag, some good, some bad, but overall really like doing it. So that's my answer there. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I think this Sunday I will probably do a stream. I know I've been saying that for a while, but I think I'm probably going to do it this Sunday because girlfriend is going to be gone. So what a better time to do a stream than when your girlfriend's gone, right? Right, guys? Perfect time. So probably on Sunday I will do a stream at some point in the near future. I'm hoping to do a PC building stream. I've got all these boxes behind me ready to go. Just need to get that graphics card. So that's kind of a little bit more of an adjust, but hoping to get that happening sometime in the relatively near future. I'll definitely let you guys know about that on my Twitter. So definitely give me a follow on Twitter if you haven't already. And I think I'll just have to see you guys next time. So that's gonna be either on Sunday or next week. But in the meantime, let's go find somebody to raid. Go ahead and find someone to raid who is on the Twitches right now that we can say hello to. I recently started watching a lot of chess. I don't know if you guys have been watching this like really goofy like chess tournament among like streamers who are really bad at chess. I kind of got into that. It's a little embarrassing, but it's pretty fun, honestly. Could raid this guy. We could, let's see, let's just check out the whole science and technology section here. Lately the science and tech, it's always like taken up by these like random always on streams, which is a little bit suspicious in my opinion. Melky's on, Andrew Rock is on. Should we raid the Zigmaster? That could be kind of fun. I don't think we've raided him before, so that could be kind of fun. I think we'll just go ahead and do that. Why not? That'll be sort of fun. So everybody, if you have the, you know, let's see, if you have the large D2 ancient emote here, here is going to be the raid message. So, you know, just kind of spam this kind of thing, you know. If you guys have these, just spam them, you know, excitedly to Andrew Rock, and we can give him a little bit of a splash. So let's say raid Andrew Rock. If you guys don't know about Andrew Rock, he's the one who's making Zig. It's like super cool. Zig is such a cool language. People are all about it right now, and I guess he does a lot of that development live on stream. So that's it's pretty exciting. Anyway, guys, see you next time. Enjoy your weekend. Bye bye.